If Trump is haunching her.
Which one? The last one?
Yeah. Laura Loomer.
Wait, why did that come up? I didn't pay no mind.
What, Laura Loomer?
There was something about a Laura Loomer somewhere.
Well, the fact that
And maybe because I didn't know who she was, I was like, whatever.
No, you got to be on the Twitter to understand
I feel like
that.
I was either on Twitter or TikTok.
Well, she is like far right, like basically conspiracy. Yes, and has been in Trump's ear because, of course, let it be known she's younger than me. She's 31 years old.
The last one that
yes.
are we the same age? Could have fooled me.
She's 31. 31. I'd just like to point that.
Her birthday's May 21st.
But like, if you go back and like see her before she plumped up her face, she was.
What? Her birthday's May 20th. No, her birthday's May 21st. But you looked at it like, oh, y'all have the same birthday. I mean, basically. Trying to find a connection for you, Taylor. Dang, I'm so glad to be connected to her.
Would you? Ooh. Child.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like Emma has a really strong chance.
Who?
Come on.
Okay.
Honestly, I really
I don't have. She will win the popular vote. She will not win the electoral.
You still don't think so?
No.
I don't know.
I think she wins it's like she will win the popular vote. Don't get me wrong, but somebody's going to screw something up somewhere. My AirPods out there. Wait, hold on.
All right, good morning, everyone. Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. It is a Monday, and it is September 16th. And as we take a look from our High 5 camera downtown, you can see some clouds there off in the distance after a wet and soggy weekend. But hey, look, sunshine is on the way. I believe we just have to get through today. We got Action News 5 meteorologist Patrick Ellis joining us at some point here. There he is, the Doppler radar. Hello, Patrick. Good to see you. And it's as I was mentioning, we get through today and then we have sunshine for several days, don't we?
Oh, yeah. I think we're going to go through a long stretch here, another stretch of dry weather after about 5 days now where we've had to deal with the rain showers across the area. First alert Doppler radar this morning still showing some of those showers moving across parts of the area. So if you're heading out the door here shortly, of course, the weather is going to be a little bit more iffy for some parts of the Mid-South as you're heading out and about. Of course, we're still tracking some light showers and moderate showers across portions of Lee and Phillips County, Helena, West Helena, back out towards Marvel this morning. Down south, even heavier pockets of rain. Clarksdale to Marks, Crowder, up towards Sledge and Crenshaw this morning. Some light to moderate rain showers across portions of Panola County, Batesville, Como, and Pope and Cortland this morning. Senatobia catching a little bit of rainfall this morning up along the Coldwater River this morning, heading up into DeSoto County. It's been fairly quiet in much of DeSoto County. Just now seeing a little shower there in the far southwestern portions of Shelby County this morning as you're coming up 61, going past the fireworks stand and heading up towards Lake Coro this morning. But otherwise, again, we're fairly quiet in most locations. Let's go up north now. And again, we've got another batch of rain that we're also tracking across portions of the northern areas of the Action News 5 coverage area. That's 155 right there. Highway 412 running out of Dyersburg down towards Alamo and Jackson. The tail end of this has started to kind of fade away over the last little bit. So the rain shower is not as prevalent in Jackson at this point, but right along the Haywood and Crockett County line up into northern portions of Lauderdale County, some heavier pockets of rain as you're coming past Gates, coming up towards Folks this morning along Highway 51 and up towards Dyersburg as well. Still got the light to moderate rain showers. So you get up here closer to like where the Love's truck stop and stuff is right there, coming out towards 51, going out along 412, going out north and east. You're starting to run into some drier air in those locations as well. So again, we do have some rain to contend with here this morning. It's not in every single location, but we are tracking at least some opportunities for seeing some showers here. As a general rule, they have been working their way off towards the north, seeing a few lightning strikes as well down into a northern Tallahatchie County. So we are starting and at least see a little bit of some movement here. It's going to take a little time, but it will happen here over the next few hours. Generally, most of the rain showers moving from southeast to north and west at this hour. So that's what we're tangling with here this morning. And of course, the big impact will come in over the next couple of hours of drier air trying to sneak in. Like I said, some light rain showers ongoing in Senatobia or Northwest Mississippi Community College. High 5 camera there. Look at the Heindel Center. Temperatures are in the upper 60s and low 70s at this hour. For today, highs will top out in the upper 70s and near 80 degrees. Easterly breeze around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Skies will be mainly cloudy here this morning. Maybe some sun peaks by the end of the day. Now I'll take you out to the tropics and one of the tropical systems. Remember, we also have a tropical depression in the name of Gordon out in the Atlantic, but also we have potential tropical cyclone number 8 with 50-mile-per-hour winds gusting to 65 off of the Carolina coastline. Here's Charleston, Cape Romaine, Myrtle Beach will be sitting right here. The rain's coming into southeastern North Carolina as well, so Wilmington up towards Whiteville, North Carolina, as well as Elizabethtown, seeing some fairly heavy downpours through Brunswick and New Hanover counties. But you've got the rain showers that are going to be in association with this system moving onshore, moving up through the Carolinas, eventually up through the Midlands and out towards the Piedmont of North Carolina, South Carolina, at least through the mid-portion of the week. And you're probably wondering, why do I care about that here in the Mid-South? Well, that is actually part of our forecast, because very similarly to what Francine did as it moved up through our area, it had a lot of drier air that was looming to the west of it. Well, this is going to happen the same way with this storm system right here, swirling onshore, and it pulls down drier air from Canada as we head through the next 24 hours. That will eventually help to bring in brighter skies for us. But we still have a connection to the Gulf of Mexico. This is the remnant low from Francine, moving south to Jackson, Mississippi this morning, and there's a band of rain that's stretching from southwest Alabama all the way in our direction. We're almost done with this, but we've got to get that push of drier air to start moving in. It's just not happening right now. Most of the dry air east of Nashville right now, but that's going to start to make its presence known here later on today, and we may see enough push that we can get the rain out of here, and also maybe some sunshine as well. West Tennessee, northeastern Mississippi have the best chances of seeing some sunshine here today. Maybe some spotty showers continuing through the afternoon hours. Highs again upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Clearing out 60s when you wake up tomorrow morning. Could be some zones of fog to contend with, but other than that, sunshine to return with highs in the mid 80s for your Tuesday. And we'll lather, rinse, repeat. We do it all over again Wednesday in the 60s and back into the 80s for highs by the afternoon hours. Here's a look at the extended 10-day forecast. Again, we'll go 79 on average today. There will be some spots that make a run to maybe 80 or 81 degrees. 85 going into your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not looking half bad for the beginning of the Mid-South Fair in South Haven, Mississippi. Temperatures, again, mid-80s on your day on Thursday. Upper 70s by 7 p.m., low to mid 70s as we go through the 10 o'clock hour. Light northerly breezes coming through there and no chances for rain. Latin Fest as well as Greek Fest going on this weekend as well. A much better scenario that is playing out for those events than we had to deal with the Southern Heritage Classics and Cooper Young Fest this past weekend, of course, with the on and off rain showers. Now, Saturday ended up being one of the drier days. Yesterday was just absolutely a soggy mess, especially during the afternoon hours. So hopefully, Andrew, you caught up with some sleeping during the course of the weekend. I know some college football games on Saturday just were not great. And then, if depending on who you like for NFL, NFL games were also kind of a sleeper. But my Saints, they did pretty good yesterday. My Bulldogs on Saturday, not so great. We won't talk about that.
No, I'm with you on that. We can focus on together the Memphis Tigers and how well they're doing. It's so great to see. Got a question for you, Patrick. You said earlier this morning that there were some places over the last 5 days that got 10 inches of rain.
Very close to it. Officially at the airport, I think we were like just over 6.5. I have to go check the numbers officially, but I think we're about 6.5 at the airport. Now, there were parts of eastern Shelby County, like Lakeland and Collierville and Germantown. Some of those spots were definitely in that 10-inch range because we had a surge of moisture one of the days that just kind of sat there and parked for like, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours that led up to a quick 2 or 3 inches in short order. And there's kind of a widespread 7 to 9 inch total over the last 7 days, parked basically over the Mid-South. So yeah, you know, some spots picked up some fairly decent rainfall. And a couple of things to note about that. One, the river levels, okay? Yeah, the river's going to take a little spike here in the next little bit, but it's not anything that you need to write home about. The river is still pretty low and will continue to go down. Of course, most of that water fell right on top of us. So that means that it's immediately going to discharge to the south of us. So this becomes more of a gradual rise for places like Greenville and Vicksburg and Natchez rather than here in Memphis, even though most of the rain fell here in Memphis. The other thing, too, is that we had a lot of farmers that were beginning harvest or were in the midst of harvest over the last couple of weeks as we had that long stretch of dry weather. And now they're going to be put back on this. Now, that also kind of goes back to the transport aspect of things, because the longer that we delay the transport, the harvesting, and they get to transport, the river levels are going down. So all that grain that's trying to get, or everything that's trying to get onto the barges, may have some issues, and we may have, you know, like a situation that we've had the last couple of years where the harvest was there and ready to go, but just couldn't get on the barges to go anywhere because there wasn't much water to, you know, navigate. So that's going to be something that we kind of look at over the next couple of days. I know that the Corps of Engineers has been out dredging the last couple of days and weeks, hoping that things can improve, but you know, just not the best situation for us in that regard. Again, kind of pushing back the goalpost basically for folks who are harvesting right now and trying to get their grain to market.
All right, meteorologist Patrick Ellis starting us off on this Monday with a look at the forecast. Patrick, thank you.
No problem.
And let's split the screen here with another look from our High 5 camera in Midtown Memphis, where it is 70 degrees, 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. And I want to get to one of the top stories that we were following this morning, and it is about the Shelby County bail system after one controversial person who is accused of shooting 4 people in Midtown outside of Rail Garden was let go without any kind of bond. That case is back in court today. Action News 5's Tavarius Haywood has more on that.
This case brought back to life what many folks here in Shelby County call a flawed bond system. Gunn was released on his own recognizance, meaning he did not have to pay for his release. Now today, Judge Jennifer Mitchell will decide whether or not to uphold Judge Bill Anderson's ROR bond in the case of Gunn, the man accused of hurting 4 people during a shooting outside of Rail Garden last month. Now his case is being overseen by General Sessions Judge Bill Anderson, who's come under criticism for bail decisions in several cases. Action News 5 got a chance to see what happened that night after surveillance video was shown in court last week. Now in that video, you see the start of the argument leading up to that shooting. District Attorney Steve Mulroy filed an emergency appeal to Anderson's decision weeks ago. Senator Brent Taylor, who often opposes Mulroy, sent a letter to the DA's office asking him to file an appeal to Gunn's release as well. Today's hearing could determine whether or not Gunn will return to jail with either a new bond or if he'll be held until trial. In downtown Memphis, Tavarius Haywood, Action News 5.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. There has been some new research that has recently been documented with the Alzheimer's Association. And this research covers 3 different areas, everything from blood tests to GLP-1, which is Ozempic, those sort of things, and processed red meat. And this research is, as I mentioned, recent, and it is something that really gives us more of an idea of maybe the factors involved with dementia and Alzheimer's. Let's bring in someone with the Alzheimer's Association. Amy French is a research champion and senior program manager with the Alzheimer's Association. She's joining us now on the digital desk. Amy, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about this recent research and what, from your perspective, you see as the most valuable aspects to it. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us on to talk about these important developments. And my role with the association is to bring this information to the living rooms, to have the honor and the privilege to attend so many of these scientific convenings like the Alzheimer's Association International Conference that I just came from, and learn about what's happening in the field and bring it to the living rooms of the yous and me's of the world. So the blood test. As we know, the diagnostic process for Alzheimer's disease is very complex right now, and it requires extensive cognitive testing, usually brain imaging, that is expensive and not always paid for by insurance and not accessible to everyone, things like PET scan imaging. So a blood test that is now FDA approved as of this month will bring that capability of the primary care physician to do a preliminary blood test screening that will show at about a 90% accuracy rate the presence in the blood of what's called biomarkers or indicators that the disease process is happening in the brain. And that will, of course, accelerate diagnosis. It will eliminate the burden that is currently on specialists like neurologists and gerontologists who often have to do that preliminary screening. With that screening being done in advance, we know that there's a desert of specialists like neurologists and cardiologists. So it would take the burden off of them and enable primary care physicians to accelerate diagnosis and move forward with that. So that's very exciting and really groundbreaking news in the disease process.
It sounds like it. So, Amy, just so we're clear, I just wanted to ask you, so if someone, for example, we have thousands of people that watch us here on the digital desk, if someone were to go and maybe get a physical, okay, and they draw blood, is this blood test that you mentioned is FDA approved, could they say with that blood test, okay, look, you're only 35 or 45, but you have biomarkers that suggest that you could have dementia or Alzheimer's later in life? Is that how it works?
The long and short of it is yes. That test is not widely used yet. Obviously, it was just approved and made available, so it's not widely used. But that is what we envision for the very near future, for it to be a predictive test. As we know, the disease process for most chronic progressive diseases, be it kidney disease, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease, the disease process begins long before symptoms become obvious. And if you wait until symptoms are obvious, then the ability to manage that disease is greatly reduced. So yes, as a diagnostic tool, not yet widely used, again, just made available, but that is a very realistic and strong expectation.
Yeah, I would think that anyone who has an opportunity to get this kind of test, to get it as soon as possible, because then the earlier you get it and the more that you have biomarkers, and the earlier, that means the earlier you can do things to stave off the dementia and Alzheimer's and do things to really kind of combat against some of the ugliness that we see of that disease. Is that right?
That's true. And to be very clear, we do not have at this point in the research game, we don't have the ability to stop the disease entirely. We don't have the ability to prevent the disease entirely. Again, this is true of many chronic progressive illnesses as well. It doesn't make it acceptable, but it doesn't make Alzheimer's an exception in that regard. So what we really are looking at, as again, I keep saying it with chronic progressive diseases, is lifestyle interventions that really can make a difference in our risk factors for developing things like Alzheimer's and other chronic diseases. And by that, I mean things like one of the studies that that I think you wanted to talk about today was the study about processed red meat. And that study backs up 100% the idea through a study that was done for over 130,000 healthcare professionals over the course of 40 years. So this is not just some fly-by-night study that goes, oh yeah, that's probably true. It is evidence-based research that shows that the consumption of 2 to 3 portions of something like bacon, or I hate to hate on bacon because everybody loves bacon, but 2 to 3 portions a week increases your risk of cognitive decline by 14%. That's a pretty significant percentage, and especially in regard to something that we do have control over and we can change. That doesn't mean you have to give up bacon forever. Maybe 2 or 3 times a month, it's fine. It's probably not going to hurt you. And also the good news is that unprocessed red meats, like just your normal healthy meat that you buy that's not full of nitrites and preservatives and sodium, it doesn't seem to have any factor at this point in time on your risk. So we're looking at processed, pretty much, excessive use of processed meats that is the culprit here.
Gotcha. So, hot dogs, sausages, bacon, those traditional things, not necessarily, like red meat when you say steak, or, a piece of pork or something like that that's unprocessed, right?
And yes, that's correct. And the guidelines that are in place for a healthy diet, like the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, all of those guidelines are still very, very much recommended in regard to overall health. We're just showing through this study that it just backs up everything that we already know about a healthy diet and the scientific evidence that's there in regard to what's good for the heart is good for the brain.
Right. And so, Amy, I'm reading from one of the things from the Alzheimer's report, and it says that processed meat, as we've been talking, raises the risk of dementia, but if you swap it for nuts and beans, it will lower the risk. And you mentioned earlier how this was a 4-decade study of more than 130,000 people. So it wasn't a small group and it wasn't a small timeline. We're talking a huge, that's a beautiful study, if you will, because it covers so many different people over such a long period of time.
Yeah, and it really gives us irrefutable evidence that, again, has been backed up time and time again. There are subsequent studies that are being funded by the Alzheimer's Association, even as we speak, to hone it down and get a better understanding of the impact of things like the processed meats and other dietary factors that we know from past evidence are not healthy, understanding better why exactly it is that these particular things like the nitrites, like the high sodium, do increase our risk. Understanding why the risk is increased can help us understand how to better reduce that risk and mitigate that risk, not just through the elimination or the significant reduction of those products, but also in regard to research in general, understanding the disease better.
Okay, and Amy, finally, I want to go to the third aspect, and this was the GLP-1. So this is things like Wegovy, Ozempic, and how it may protect against dementia. Explain the results coming out of this.
Yeah, so those studies indicate that the weight loss drugs may have a protective quality for the brain. We also know that those drugs really haven't been on the market for a long time, so we haven't had the opportunity to do really longitudinal studies. But preliminary indicators indicate that there's a very good possibility that there is some protective quality. Now, that doesn't mean that those medications are going to now be the norm for a person who has Alzheimer's to go on those medications. That's not what the takeaway is. The takeaway is that it's yet another avenue of hope, yet another avenue that is being explored. We know that the relationship between what creates risk factors for diabetes and other metabolic diseases are also risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. So knowing that medications that can help mitigate those metabolic type disorders might be indicated in also mitigating Alzheimer's risk and Alzheimer's progression is very encouraging and very significant. Isn't it wonderful when a medication comes on the market that's just not a one-trick pony, that it has a lot of other benefits as well?
No, I'm very encouraged by these recent breakthroughs. I think I may have mentioned it to you and perhaps some of your colleagues that my dad has Alzheimer's, and so we go through it as a family together. And I do a lot of things with the Alzheimer's Association and I love learning about these breakthroughs because it's so valuable for so many people out there. Where can our audience look at some of these breakthroughs and kind of read for themselves? Is there a place online?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Of course there is. Our website is your absolute go-to. It's alz.org, alz.org, that simple. We also have a toll-free helpline at 1-800-272-3900, and I hope that you'll flash that on the screen for us. Both are great resources. I encourage people, especially if you're overwhelmed as a caregiver, and as a caregiver yourself, this is the norm to feel overwhelmed as a caregiver. Sometimes going to the Google net, as they say, can be really scary and intimidating and overwhelming. Even our website, which is 100% evidence-based, if you see it on the Alzheimer's Association website, you know that it's true. You know that it's not a fly-by-night study, a scheme to get you to buy a product or whatever. You know it's legit. So our toll-free number is a great resource too that I think is drastically underutilized. You can ask a question about anything. You can ask a question about what we just talked about today, about the blood test, about whether Ozempic is going to help reduce your risk. It doesn't have to be a deep, intense question. It can be anything you need and want to know about Alzheimer's disease. We are in the business of education and support, along with, of course, funding the research and even providing research studies as well. That's our business. It's what we do. We are here to help. We are here to help in whatever way we can. And that means one-on-one. If it's a one-on-one conversation with our helpline, and it helps even one small bit in helping you understand your risk, mitigating your risk, or understand your role as a caregiver and how to best provide care for your loved one. All those things are so important, and that's why we're here, and we want people to help us do our job. We want to have people that we can serve.
Amy French, we really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much for letting us know about these recent breakthroughs, valuable information that people can check out at alz.org. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Digital Desk. People of color living with plaque psoriasis have been underrepresented in so many clinical research studies. There is now a study that's dedicated specifically to people of color with skin and scalp moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. And I'm joined right now by one of the investigators of this study, Dr. Mona Sheriari, joining us on the Digital Desk to talk more about this study and what we can gain from it. Good morning, Dr. Sheriari. Tell us about this study and what you're seeing so far.
Well, thank you so much for having me this morning. So as you mentioned, historically, patients with skin of color have been underrepresented in clinical trials with numbers as low as 5%. So Johnson & Johnson, who I'm here on behalf of today to address this gap, actually partnered with researchers and clinicians on the VISIBLE study, which is the first dedicated skin of color and plaque psoriasis study evaluating Tremfya, an FDA-approved biologic for this disease across skin tones. And what we found were rapid and significant improvements in plaque psoriasis and skin of color, which helped solidify that effectiveness and safety of this medication in this disease. But it also showed us that 6 out of 10 patients had 90% improvement in their plaque psoriasis, which is huge for patients suffering from this condition. Now, this may not be the right medication for everyone, so I encourage patients to speak with their dermatologist about the benefits as well as the side effects of the medication. And to learn more, they can visit tremfya.com.
Tell me, we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning on the digital desk. Can you tell us just an overview of what plaque psoriasis is and how it affects certain people in certain ways?
Absolutely. So plaque psoriasis is an autoimmune condition. It impacts about 8 million Americans, and it's characterized by an overproduction of skin cells on the elbows, knees, as well as the scalp and other areas, but it does present differently on different skin tones. So individuals with lighter skin might have red or pink plaques, while individuals with melanin-rich skin might have dark brown or violet plaques. And this can actually lead to delays in diagnosis in our patients with skin of color, but the burden of disease goes beyond what you can see. It can impact someone's emotional health as well as their quality of life, with those impacts being more significant in people with skin of color.
So if people want to check out some of the results of this study, how can they do that?
So if they go to tremfya.com, they can not only see the results of the study, but learn more about what makes the VISIBLE study unique, and also look at pictures of what plaque psoriasis looks like across a variety of skin tones.
Anything else you want to mention with results, with the results coming out of this study, Doctor?
I think the most important thing I want the audience to remember is that there are a lot of unique challenges that patients with skin of color with plaque psoriasis face when it comes to being diagnosed as well as receiving a treatment. So I want patients to be empowered to talk to their dermatologist about the available treatment options, because everyone deserves to have access to high quality, equitable care.
Okay, Dr. Mona Sheriari joining us on the digital desk. We appreciate your time. Thanks so very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. Get this, more than 64 million Americans live with a disability, and most of them do not have the help of a service dog. Service dogs can do amazing things. It's really incredible how you can train them to pull wheelchairs, turn on light switches, open and close doors and drawers, pick up various items that have dropped, and plenty more. In fact, service dogs are more than just companions. They are essential partners in helping people navigate the world. For so many of them have disabilities. Let's bring in a couple of ladies here to talk more about the importance of service dogs and what they mean for our country. I'm joined now by Raquel White. She is with Corporate Affairs and Eukanuba. And then I have Paige Mazzioni. She is with Canine Companions. Ladies, good morning to you both. Let's talk a little bit about, first off, Paige, let's go to you and talk a little bit about the service dog industry and the involvement in training these dogs. Good morning.
Good morning. So as you said, 64 million Americans and growing have a disability that can be helped with the support of a service dog. And at Canine Companions, we train service dogs and place them with people with over 65 different disabilities, everything from physical disabilities to cognitive disabilities to hearing loss to military-related PTSD. And we place our dogs with children, adults, and veterans free of charge. We also have facility dogs who work with professionals in settings like the criminal justice system, hospitals, and education, and they help many people every day. And we have a 98% success rate with our matches with our clients.
How long does it take to train a service dog? Does it depend?
No, it takes about 2 years total. We invented the concept of the modern service dog in 1975, and we created the methods of training to teach the tasks that mitigate the symptoms of a disability. And since then, we've evolved our training at our 7 campuses where our professional trainers train our dogs in over 45 tasks. And as you said, those tasks can be everything from opening doors, picking up items, many, many tasks that mitigate the symptoms of a disability. We also make sure that we look at the aptitude of the dog and place it with a person that's well matched for their future partnership.
Yeah, amazing video that was just shown about all the different things that service dogs can do for so many different people. Raquel, over to you. Tell me about Eukanuba and some of the different programs they have in place from now until the end of the year to support the training of these dogs.
Absolutely. You know, for more than 30 years, Eukanuba has partnered with Canine Companions to provide the science-based nutrition that pets need, that these service dogs need, especially formulated, because it is so important to be involved with an organization like this that does so much for so many people in a specific community. This year, we have a program called Feed Eukanuba, Fuel Independence, and it's where through the end of the year, you can buy a 28-pound bag or larger of Eukanuba dog food, and $20 will go to Canine Companions to support their mission and to help them with the funds, because as Paige said, you know, they give these dogs to people with disabilities absolutely free of charge. So this is to help them with that.
That's fantastic. You know, I love that. And Paige, is there a back order? I don't know how else to say it, but is there a greater demand for service dogs than there are service dogs?
Absolutely. There is a huge demand, and we are constantly trying to grow to place more dogs with more people because that demand continues to grow. And we do have an instructor here who can show some of the tasks if you'd like to see it.
Would love to see it. Let's see it.
All right, Thorn. Thorn, get. Good job, buddy. Come on. Thorn, lap. Good job. Good. Give. Good job, buddy. Good. Off. Very nice. Good.
That is fantastic. I love it. Live demonstration right here on the digital desk. Appreciate that, ladies. Raquel, if someone wants to be a part of this, perhaps donate to this campaign, even if they don't have a dog, how can they do that?
You know, it's so important for people to get involved. So like you said, to donate, Canine Companions is a 501c3 charity, and so any amount is welcomed and needed. You can also volunteer. They have a number of volunteer opportunities. You can volunteer to fundraise for them. You can even volunteer to become a puppy raiser, which I can't imagine anything better. Or like we mentioned, you can buy the Eukanuba food. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit eukanuba.com/us/canine-companions.
Excellent. And Paige, anything else before we let you go? I love who's sitting between you two right there.
This is Jingle. Jingle loves to be loved and loves to love, as you can tell. So the dogs are great at performing tasks. They're also great at giving love. He's demonstrating.
Well, ladies, listen, I appreciate it very much. Thank you for really kind of shedding a light on this issue and really giving us detailed information about it. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. There's some new data that's been issued by MetLife and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It finds small businesses are keen to experiments with AI tools and using AI could give them a competitive edge. This is according to some of the key findings of Q2 here. Let's bring in a couple of people to talk about this new data. I am joined right now by Jordan Crenshaw. He's the Senior VP of U.S. Chamber of Commerce Technology Engagement Center, and Karen Rafferty, Head of Regional Business Sales with MetLife. Good morning to you both. So, Karen, let me start with you here. Tell me what this data tells you.
Absolutely. We have been partnering with the U.S. Chamber on the Small Business Index since 2017. And it's a snapshot into our small business sector. It allows us to understand from small business owners what they're thinking about the economy, their biggest challenges, and how they feel about their businesses overall. Our most recent study showed the most optimism of our small business owners since 2020. And a lot of that excitement is driven by AI. We know in Tennessee that many of our small businesses are in the service industry. And our data shows that 52% of those small businesses will be looking for AI proficiencies in their future job postings.
Jordan, over to you. Tell me what you're seeing from your vantage point when it comes to small businesses and the technology and AI.
There's a huge opportunity for workers in Memphis as small businesses are embracing AI tools. 99% of companies are small businesses. And our latest small business index survey results that we did along with MetLife revealed that 71% of small businesses believe that hiring workers with AI skills will save them time, and another 67% believe will help save them money. Small businesses value AI proficiency, and AI is creating an environment where workers can learn new skills and then become more valuable in the job market. And I think it's interesting to note that 46% of small business owners in the South are actively planning AI training for their employees.
So let me ask you this, and let me stay with you, Jordan, for a minute here. If someone's watching this, and we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning on the digital desk, and someone's watching and they say, yeah, I'll work with AI. I want to get that next job. Where can they go to, be proficient in AI tools that you're talking about?
Well, AI training is going to be crucial for helping small businesses grow in the future. And 65% of businesses believe that AI will change roles in the future economy. And it's so important that employees take up small business owners on their offer of AI training. I'm even aware of small business owners themselves too who've actually gotten training and use it rather effectively off the internet. But there are also more formal trainings available too. Community colleges and local chambers of commerce are offering upskilling courses as well. So there are ample opportunities for people to learn how to use this technology for their advantage. It's a tool that's really going to help bolster the workforce, particularly as we're dealing with a tight labor market.
So, Karen, I want to ask you, what are you seeing in terms of AI tools that people are gravitating to? And when I say people, I mean small businesses. I mean, we know about ChatGPT. Anything else out there?
Absolutely. I believe that small businesses are looking at ways that they can increase their productivity without having to, fully and compete against larger industries overall. And so our small business owners are really concentrated on how they integrate this with their employee base and really creating opportunities through their employees' professional growth and training in AI to deliver efficiencies, but a stronger customer experience.
So let me ask you this, Karen. I mean, in this new data that was issued by MetLife, was there anything specific, any kind of AI tool that the business community mentioned, or they, wanted these employees to learn more about?
We're seeing a large gravitation to increasing their marketing ability through AI, as well as just understanding their overall customer base.
Jordan, over to you. So give me the landscape in the next, 5, 10 years. Are we going to see something where almost every small business or business out there is going to have some form or fashion of AI as part of the workforce?
In terms of how small businesses are going to adopt, if you were to say a small business is not going to adopt AI today, that would be like saying a small business doesn't plan to use the internet 20 years ago. It's going to be ubiquitous, and that's why it's so important that employees at small businesses and their owners become efficient so they can have that edge.
Okay, Jordan Crenshaw and Karen Rafferty, we appreciate your time on the Action News 5 digital desk. Thanks for the deep dive on the topic and keeping us informed on what's happening with small businesses and AI tools. Anything else you guys want to mention before we let you go? I leave it open to both of you.
Well, if you'd like to learn more, you can actually visit us at uschamber.com to dive more into the report.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I'm joined now by Reef Faberman, the Trust for America's Health Director of Strategic Communications and Policy Research. Good morning to you. Let's talk a little bit about this new report that I'm hearing about epidemics of alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths. And give me the facts and the findings that surround this report. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is an annual report that Trust for America Health does, and we track the number of deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide, both at the national level and at the state level. And there's some good news at both of those levels, although the number of deaths over the last 2 decades has really increased at very alarming rates. We're up 142% in these deaths, alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths over the last 2 decades. So we have a lot of work to do. But for the very latest data, which is for 2022, there is a glimmer of some good news. Nationally, alcohol drugs are down 6%. And in Tennessee, these deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide are down across the board. your alcohol deaths are down 2%, your drug overdose deaths are down 1%, and your suicide deaths are down 2%. So that's good news. However, we also need to remember that even with these reductions, over 6,400 people have died in Tennessee in 2022 from substance abuse or suicide.
How much is this related to the pandemic? I mean, I know we've been out of the pandemic now, but how much is it related to that?
Yeah, it's a good question because there is data that suggests that when we were able to come out of the pandemic, the public health emergency ended, people were able to get back to a more normal routine, going to an office, going to work, being able to socialize, going out to restaurants, etc. That helped people's sense of social isolation, any loneliness, because we did see very high increases, double-digit increases in alcohol and suicide deaths in 2020 and 2021. Now we see kind of a leveling off in 2022. So the end of the pandemic probably did impact these numbers.
So we have these numbers. They're extremely high, even though they aren't as high as they have been in the past. They are still extremely high. How do we bring it down?
Yeah, it's important to remember that even though we have seen a leveling off, the numbers across the last 2 decades are just astronomically high. So we need to do a couple of things. We need to invest in prevention programs and in the community conditions that allow people to thrive. We need to invest in harm reduction programs, things like readily available naloxone. Naloxone is a overdose reversal drug medication. And that needs to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl test strips need to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl is the largest driver of drug overdose. We also need to ensure that we have a mental health system in this country and a substance abuse prevention system that is large enough to meet all the need and that has the diversity and the language skills and the understanding of individual community culture to allow it to be really welcoming to anyone who needs help and effective for anyone who needs help.
What else can we talk about with regards to this study? And, you know, we've addressed this problem, this issue. It's still a mess when it comes to our area of West Tennessee and North Mississippi, Eastern Arkansas. What else can we talk about with solutions here?
Yeah, I would again point to the importance of a mental health services system that is as large as the scope of the problem. Many Americans, 53% of Americans, live in mental health workforce shortage areas, which means that if a person needs some kind of mental health services or substance abuse prevention services, they're likely put on a waiting list and they have to wait until they can get the services they need. That's something that really needs to be addressed. We also need to invest in prevention programs in schools. Schools are such a natural place to be able to help kids, to understand who needs help and the kind of help they need. So prevention programs in school, programs that teach coping skills and teach resilience, also very important.
Okay, Ms. Farman, thank you so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. We appreciate your time and really just kind of analyzing this latest study that shows some progression, but still we got a long, long way to go. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Taylor Tucker in for Andrew Douglas. We have a good one for you today. We're talking about the Memphis Greek Festival coming up next weekend, and here to tell us all about it is our friend, I think I'm out the camera here. Let me go to you. It's Kathy Zambelis. Kathy, did I get your name right?
Correct.
Great. Kathy, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Let's just jump right into it. Tell me a little bit about what we can expect at the Greek Festival.
Oh, we are so excited. It is our 65th annual Greek Festival. And if you need to learn one word, it's called Oppa. And that's just a great celebration that we always say as we're dancing, we breaking plates and just having a great time. It is a great family event. And it'll be on September 20th and 21st, which is next weekend. And we're just so excited. We have wonderful food and music and dancing, the church tours. If you bring 3 canned goods, you get in free, and that'll go to the Mid-South Food Bank, which we are really excited about. We have free shuttle service, and it's at Poplar Plaza Shopping Center, as well as Life Church. There's no parking on site, just for handicap. So I suggest taking the shuttles. It drops you right off at the front gate, where you are walking into the Greek island on Highland, and we just had so much fun. We love to embrace everybody, and we want you to come into our sanctuary and come to the church tours if you can, because it is all about our faith. And then with our faith, we also have our wonderful culture, and of course, the food, the music, dancing, and everything else. We do have tickets online at Eventbrite, and we hope that people go there. They'll save a little bit of money coming in with free admission and free bottled water. And that's for our dining hall, which we will have Greek chicken rigatoni dinners and souvlaki. And then on the inside, we're going to have a wonderful Greek boutique that has some of our items. We have jewelry, olive oil, Greek pizza. And this year is new. We have a Greek flaming pizza. And so we'll be screaming Oppa a lot back there at the pizza tent. And we just have so much fun. We have all the bouncy houses and face painting, photo booth. Of course, our Athenian dancers are fantastic. They'll be performing on Saturday at noon. So we don't want anybody to miss this wonderful family event. And come to the drive-through maybe on Friday, and then come back on Saturday and bring the whole family and spend the whole day with us.
Kathy, this sounds like so much fun. So you said it's the 65th anniversary that you guys are celebrating. What makes this year so special? Because 65, I mean, that's a long tradition here.
It is a long tradition, and it started out as just a little bazaar with some Greek sweets, which has turned into a Mid-South celebration. And again, we're at 573 North Highland. If you go to memphisgreekfestival.com, we will have all of the details there. We have some new things that are, every year we try to do something new. And this year is that flaming pizza, which is like a saganaki, and everybody absolutely loves that. So we're adding that to the menu. Our Greek boutique has tons of fun things. This year, our friends at the Rendezvous have started a new seasoning. They're parishioners of our church, and so we'll be selling that as well. T-shirts and hats and just wine coolers and lots of great stuff. So please come and bring your 3 canned goods for the Mid-South Food Bank. That means a lot to us.
Tell me more about that. So we need to bring 3 cans. Elaborate.
3 canned goods. You can bring more, but 3 will get you in free for each person. And we love filling up that food truck. And, we were one of the people that this event really does a lot for the Mid-South Food Bank. And so, but it's because of the people in the Mid-South, because they're bringing the 3 canned goods. And let's just fill it up. Let's tell them they need to go get another truck, because we've already filled up a whole one.
Wow, so you can come out and have a lot of fun, but it's also for a great cause as well, helping out. So that's a double win there. It's not too early to talk about food, Kathy. So let's talk about some of the traditional Greek foods. Like, what should we expect?
Okay, if you come into our dining hall, we do have meals, and that's the Greek chicken raganato, as well as the Greek pork tenderloin souvlaki, and we also have lamb, and that comes with spanakopita, which is the spinach pie, the green beans, the Greek rice, and bread. And Then we have tons of pastries, just everybody's favorite. If you don't know what you like as your favorite, we have a pre-pack with a lot of sampling going on there as well. We've got baklava cheesecake, which I recommend very highly. You put cheesecake and baklava together, and boy, what is that but nothing but deliciousness. And then outside we have, like I told you, the pizza. We also have a moussaka, which is a Greek eggplant. And then we also have pasticcio, which is like a Greek lasagna. And this year we'll be having biftekia, which is like, it's a meat patty with the tzatziki sauce, which is, you know, the cucumber yogurt sauce with pita bread. And so nobody's going to go home hungry, I promise you. We have several people that just stock up, you know, for the holidays, and bring friends, bring family, bring, you know, it's just a great event.
Kathy, I'm getting hungry already. Wow, this is so much fun, and I know you've given us a lot of information, but for those that want to learn more, where can they go to learn more information before the big day?
Yes, they can get information and also buy some pre-sale tickets and save on admission, like I said before, for our meal ticket. Memphis GreekFestival.com has all of the details, and we just want to see everybody out there. Hopefully the weather is going to be fabulous, and we're just so excited to have this event. In 65 years, that means a lot for our community.
Let's talk about the next 65 years. Where do you see, how does this festival continue to grow?
You know what's so wonderful? We have a lot of our young people that are involved, and that just shows us that they have the love of our faith and our culture and family and embracing everybody. And that's pretty much what our Greek heritage is all about. Once you got in there, have become Greek for the day. So like I said, come to the little island on Highland, be taken away. We'll save you the plane ticket, and you'll have everything that you ever wanted right there. 573 North Highland, right at Sam Cooper. And be sure to use the shuttles, because that is the best way to go. And bring your canned goods from Mid-South Food Bank. And you got to learn the word, oppa.
There we go, Kathy. Thanks so much. This was a lot of fun. I know Andrew Douglas is so jealous that I get a chance to do this interview. But was there anything else that you wanted to add that I did not ask you today?
I want to be sure that everybody comes into our church. You know, they come for the food and the wonderful wines and the music and dancing and things like that. But come into our church. Our sanctuary is probably one of the most beautiful sanctuaries you will ever see. If you have time to stop for the tour, learn about our faith. The Greek Orthodox faith was the original church, the original faith. And what you will learn, we have a lot of people that join our church after they've come and learned about our church. So that is really the first and most foremost thing that I think is important about our festival. It is an opportunity for us to come out and just let people know what our faith is all about, and then come and enjoy all the wonderful food and dancing and music, and just have a great time with your family.
Cannot wait for that. Well, Kathy, thanks so much for stopping by the Action News 5 digital desk. Looking forward to next weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's chat again soon. I'll see you, Kathy.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. We are always trying to look for optimal mental health and looking for different ways, maybe different hacks, lifestyle changes, that sort of thing. Well, there is some new research out there that suggests that connecting with your spiritual side may be the answer to optimal health. Let's bring in someone to talk more about that aspect to it. I'm joined now by Renee Dillard. She is the Director of Community Behavioral Health for Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare. Renee, good morning to you. So tell me more about spiritual well-being and that connection to optimal mental health. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. It's wonderful to be with you today, and I appreciate the opportunity for this good conversation. Especially over the past few years, during and coming through the COVID-19 pandemic, we find ourselves in a season where we can imagine that really every person we meet is dealing with something. I think that experience of the pandemic in many ways revealed some realities about our mental health and then exacerbated some symptoms related to mental health. One unexpected gift of that season is that while stigma is still present related to mental illness and mental health concerns, we are more open talking about it. And I think that includes within our faith communities as well. So while that stigma is still present, our faith communities are a wonderful place to have that conversation. And there is more and more awareness now that many of the religious life practices and spiritual practices that have been present really for millennia now are also good for our mental well-being too. Our religious life is a place where we are really grounded and anchored in some of our shared values. And when I say values, I really mean just focus on what is meaningful for us, what is most important and what matters for us. And those spaces also help us keep moving in that direction towards what is meaningful and towards what matters the most.
So, Renee, I mean, here we are, we're smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt, and there are plenty of people, I'm sure, saying right now, of course, yes. I mean, in order to find that optimal mental health, you need to have that spiritual side, and you need to make it a priority in order to find it. What does that look like exactly? And what kind of studies suggest that spirituality is the key to mental health?
One that was interesting that came out fairly recently was through the Fetzer Institute. And I'll preface this by saying that there is evidence that some of our religious membership, like in a church or a synagogue or mosque, may be waning for some of the organized religious paths that we've had to us. And yet that part of who we are is still alive and vibrant and well. This Fetzer Institute study came out in 2023, coming out of the pandemic, and revealed that 88% of Americans still practice at least one spiritual or religious practice at least one time per week. And you mentioned here in Memphis, we have a strong and vibrant faith community here. We see evidence of that often. And even the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, recognizes the preventive and proactive factors that are connected with religious and spiritual life, helping to bolster our mental health as well. In many ways, I think that comes for a couple of reasons. One, a lot of those practices are grounded in community and connection. And we also know of late, there's been a lot that's been reported and said about what's almost an epidemic of loneliness in our society. And faith communities are a place to dispel that loneliness. It's a place for us to connect and to support one another throughout life's highs and lows. And then the personal practices that are connected with spirituality and with religion, practices of prayer and meditation, of contemplation, of silence, and then our shared practices of worship together, outreach and service together. All of these practices help foster good spiritual health and well-being, and they also impact our mental emotional health. You know, we think of our health in a compartmentalized way, like what do I need to do to be physically healthy and whole? What do I need for my mental emotional health? What do I need for my spiritual health? And yet we are also one person and one body. So just as the things that I do for my physical health, like good exercise and nutrition, benefit my mental health, the same is true for our spiritual health and well-being. those practices, especially even the small practices over time, help keep us centered and grounded and give us a sense of connection and belonging.
So let's spell it out for people out there who may be tuning in and watching us and saying, okay, I need more mental health stability in my life. I need better mental health. I want to start this journey with getting first my spiritual mental health and my spirituality correct. How do they begin this process? And spell it out for them, maybe some bullet points.
Thank you. I think one thing to remember is that many of us are connected to a faith community, perhaps a particular church or synagogue, mosque, some other community of faith. And yet, whether we are connected in that way or not, we are all spiritual beings. So finding ways to foster that sense of meaning and connection in our life through what can be small practices done with great intention. So it could be a moment of meditation and prayer daily. It could be recognizing that I do miss being part of a faith community and seeking out a community where there is good mutual support within that space, a space where when the losses of life happen, as they will, we're not alone in that, and we have people to guide us. So starting small and then building on those practices will yield great benefit.
Well, I think there was a great benefit for our audience this morning. Great conversation, Renee Dillard. We appreciate your time on the Digital Desk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Oh, all right, you too. Another live look from our high five camera here outside of our studios at 1960 Union Avenue. 71 degrees at 8:09. Your forecast in 60 seconds.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier air stream to come into the fold. And that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really, starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying areas, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale. Closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature. temperature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine, temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. Have you thought about having a will? Perhaps you already have one. Well, so many people wait. They wait for life-changing events, health scares, maybe property purchases, parenthood, you starting to have kids. They wait for those moments in order to consider having a will, but it's so important to have because that's really allowing you to ensure your final wishes are honored. And instead of going somewhere else or instead of things happening where you don't want them to happen, your wishes are honored in a legal will. So how hard is it to get a will? How much does it cost? Is it very time consuming? Let's bring in someone to help us navigate this issue. I'm joined right now by Ashley Robinson. She's a senior director at LegalZoom. They do all kinds of wills for us. She's joining us on the digital desk. Ashley, good morning to you. So for our audience right now, can you tell us exactly what a will is and how important it is to have this kind of legal document? Good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. So think of your will like your personal playbook for what happens after you leave the party. It's a legal document that outlines how you want your treasures divvied up after you're gone. That could be your bank accounts, your real estate, your favorite guitar, even your beloved pets. But why is it important? Well, if you do not have an estate plan in place, the state's default settings could kick in and they would decide how things would be divided up. And in some rare cases, everything you own could end up in the hands of the state. So to avoid all of that potential family drama and definitely lost time and money, by getting that will in place, you are protecting what matters the most to you and your loved ones and your legacy.
Yeah, the last thing we want is for all of our property, our estate to go to the state or somewhere else where we don't want it to go. So, when do we actually say, when's the best time to say, okay, I'm going to make a will, I'm going to have it done this week or this month? Is there a certain time when people should do it?
I think August 15th is a great time to do it. The month of August is National Make a Will Month. This is a perfect time to get this process started. And you're absolutely right. Most Americans procrastinate. And in fact, 2 out of 3 Americans don't have a will at all. And so a lot of them are procrastinating for those big milestones or even a really scary medical incident. You shouldn't wait. Don't wait for those milestones to give you that nudge. Get it started today. We've got great deals. Basic will starting at $89 for the month of August.
Wow, that's nothing. So let's talk about some of those misconceptions, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you know, it's so complicated. It costs way too much. It's kind of morbid. I don't want to think about this. Let's navigate through some of those misconceptions.
Absolutely. So there's 2 major misconceptions that really keep people from getting their wills in place. The first is they think they don't need it. They think they're either too young or there's not enough money in the bank account. But the fact is anyone at any stage of life or income level should be really thinking about their estate plan. You can be as young as 18 to have a will in place. The second misconception is that they think it costs a fortune to get the will together. And as I mentioned, we have processes that make that easy and affordable to everybody, and you don't have to go to a lawyer's office to get it done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you do it on your own? Do you need an attorney? What would you recommend for someone? We have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here, Ashley, and you know, they're probably thinking, well, gosh, I don't have time to hang out at an attorney's office for 5 hours. How do we do this?
Absolutely. Well, yes, you can do it on your own, and we've got some great do-it-yourself wills through our website, but having an attorney available to help really gives you peace of mind. The way I like to think about it is whether you should cut your own hair. Should you cut your own hair? You can, but should you? Not really. Looking to an expert to help you through that process will really give you that peace of mind. And particularly for a will, they'll make sure the paperwork is filled out properly so it will be rock solid to hold up in court. We have a great network of attorneys that can help customers across all 50 states. Unlimited revisions, advice, and as we said, no trips to a lawyer's office required.
Where do people make their biggest mistakes when it comes to a will? I know some people out there, you know, they might think, well, I'll just put it down, you know, to anyone who reads this, this is my last will and testament. I mean, is that one of the mistakes they do? What are some other mistakes?
I mean, I think the biggest mistake is not having a will, right? As we talked about, it's so important to have. If you want to keep your legacy intact, if you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of after you're gone, having a will really is the ultimate way to protect what matters most.
Okay, so we've talked about a number of different things here. If someone's watching and they want maybe 3 basic headlines of what to do, you know, just some bullet points, where would they start?
Well, the best place to start really is LegalZoom.com. We've got great deals this month through the month of August, National Make a Will Month, where you can start the process really early on. But if someone is trying to determine is a will or a trust the right thing for me, talking to an attorney and figuring out what's best for your scenario and what the legacy is that you want to leave behind, that's really the way to do it. So anyone can go to LegalZoom.com to find out more.
Okay, Ashley Robinson, thank you for spelling this out for us. Really made it easy to understand. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, another Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. Researchers estimate that genetics make up just 25% of the factors that determine how long we live. The other 75% can be contributed to a large part of making healthy lifestyle choices. And studies find that those choices add years to your life. So let's talk a little bit more about all this with our friend here from Regional One Health, Dr. Anna Yang, joining us once again on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Dr. Yang, always good to see you here. Appreciate you giving us some time this morning. So let's talk about some of the simple things we can do to add quality years to our life. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you again for having me. And what you said is correct. The important thing is quality life, not just additional numbers of years.
Exactly. So where do we begin?
Well, so there are a lot of factors that are actually within your control to extend good years to your life. Um, it's a combination of everything, really, your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health, and just staying safe in general. But two of the things we hear most often about, diet and exercise are always, at the top of the list of things that you can do and take control of your life to make the, last 20 years of it or more even the best that they can be.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into that, because diet and exercise, you're absolutely right. That's what we hear about. What about the diet? And what about the exercise? And give me some, let's dive deeper.
Sure. So let's start with exercise. We always think of exercise as, misery and sweating and tough, but it's not just about sweating and getting that heart rate up. Exercise is also about mobility and keeping your bones strong and your muscles moving. And sometimes later in life, as simple as just walking and being able to get around and be independent. Exercising doesn't have to include, running on a treadmill or cycling or something very intense or potentially even hard on the joints. It can be even something as simple as stretching every day, or even sitting in a chair and doing some exercise, walking around in a pool, just getting your body moving so that you don't lose your ability to move your joints later on in your life.
Is there a guideline like 3-4 times a week, 30 minutes each time you exercise?
Well, there are general guidelines out there for, the average healthy adult. But if you're not already exercising, I would not start at those guidelines. I would definitely talk to your doctor and take it slow. Even if it's just, walking down the block, slowly for the first time, or just doing some simple, stretches exercises, and improving your range of motion and your flexibility. Start small. Depending on your medical problems and medical history, you may not be able to jump into things right away. It may be too much for your body and your joints and your heart. So just starting to do something and then gradually taking that up as you tolerate and as your doctor advises is what I would recommend doing if you're not already somebody who's exercising.
What about the healthy diet? Can you give us some healthy diet tips?
So year after year after year, it's the Mediterranean diet. That is the one that's most supported and backed by scientific research in, prolonging good years of life and decreasing cardiovascular disease and all sorts of things. And this Mediterranean diet is actually pretty simple. It's not necessarily what you would think of classically as, someone who eats in the Mediterranean necessarily. It's basically an emphasis on fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. There's also something called the DASH diet, which is based on the Mediterranean diet. The DASH diet is specifically designed for hypertension or high blood pressure, to decrease high blood pressure, potentially without even requiring medication. And the DASH diet is similar to the Mediterranean diet, but it's a little bit more structured in that, it gives you specific portions and serving sizes and that kind of thing. DASH stands for dietary approaches to stop hypertension. So if you want to look something up as, the most healthy diet, not just the, fad diet for losing weight or, cutting calories and that kind of thing, look up the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet.
Appreciate the deep dive on those two aspects. When we talk about healthy aging, Dr. Yang, we can't help but also mention how important sleep is. Can you talk a little bit about sleep?
Absolutely. Sleep is important for every age, not just as you get older. Sometimes people think that, as you get older, maybe you don't need so much sleep or it's less important, but that's 100% not true. Sleep is where your brain goes to rest and processes memories and all the things that you did that day. And you need that sleep in order to be restful the next day, to be alert and awake and, avoid falling and be safe and, use your mind to its best capacity. And also, as people age, their schedule might become less structured. And so, napping during the day, irregular sleep schedules, that's something that's very easy of a habit to fall into sometimes. And it becomes more important to make sure you stay on a regular schedule so that your sleep cycle and your sleep schedule also stays regular.
Sleep, we have food, we have exercise. What else?
Well, your emotional health or your social health is also very important, not to mention your spiritual health. All of these things are things to remember too. Your body's not just a physical being, but you also have a mind that is very, very important. So staying connected with friends and family. As people age, a lot of people lose friends and family, and so it can be harder to stay in touch with people and get that sense of connection with others. And that can be really isolating and really tough. So it's really important to, make new friends and keep your old connections strong and make sure you reach out to friends and family and develop those relationships so that they can be stronger later in life as well. Also, spiritual health doesn't mean you have to be religious or go to a church, but having, a way to calm your mind and process things and have a way to be at peace with yourself when tough things happen is very important.
Absolutely. I'm seeing more and more things about how having that social connection, especially for older people, more and more studies show how vital that is. I see that almost every few weeks or so. It seems to come up more and more. Anything else that we can put on this list here? We've got diet and exercise. You've talked about that. Social, spiritual health. Anything else before we let you go, Dr. Yang?
Sure. I mean, even just staying safe in this environment that we live in, making sure that the people you surround yourself are good influences on you and your life, staying, just safe from accidental deaths and all the violence that's happening out there, having situational awareness of where you are and who you're with and what's going on, knowing when to, walk away from a fight and how to defend yourself is just so important. I mean, you got to make it to those years in order to have those years. So getting there and preserving your life and knowing how to defend yourself and where to be and putting yourself in the best situations and the safest situations is just so important with everything that we've got going on, especially living here in Memphis.
Yeah, no question about it. Dr. Anna Yang, always appreciate the conversations that we have on the Action News 5 digital desk. This is another good one. The best ways to add quality years to your life. Such a great conversation, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I want to get to Reginald. Reginald Boyce, I appreciate you joining us on the Digital Desk. We just had you a second ago, and your picture just went out. So I don't know what happened to your camera, but let's see if we can get you back. It looks like the camera went out. So while we work on that on your end, we're going to talk about our forecast, because after all the rain that we've received, it is now going to be sunshine, and a lot of sunshine at that after today. Meteorologist Patrick Ellis has details on that.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier air stream to come into the fold, and that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really, starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond, as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying areas, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale. Closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go, with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine, temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week, as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I want to talk now about some town halls that Memphis Mayor Paul Young is going to be having. I'm joined now by Regional Boyce. He is assistant to Memphis Mayor Paul Young. Reginald, tell us first about the purpose of these town hall meetings and what people can see if they attend. Good morning.
Absolutely. Good morning, Andrew. First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this broadcast this morning. I'm very appreciative of it. These town halls, first, they're a continuation of something we started back in January. And the purpose and the goals of the town halls is to, number one, inform the community what's going on, especially particularly in their community. So we're hosting these town halls specifically in each and every community around the city of Memphis. And so we've already posted 4 or 5 of them now, but now we're going to East Memphis. And so it's to inform the community, but also it is to inspire them, to help them to imagine and reimagine a better Memphis, but not just reimagine it on their end, but to include them in the imagination. How can they be hands and feet involved, heart involved in what it is that the mayor has shared with the city, but also what the constituents are saying. Hey, this is what we need for our community. This is what we need for our area to thrive and survive and to be more investable. So that's the purpose of these town halls, to be heard, and then also to activate not only the voices of the people, but the hands and the feet of everybody that calls Memphis.
Okay, so Reginald, give me an idea of what the format is going to be like. Is it one of those things where people who attend, they'll listen to just some opening statements, where we are, just kind of an informational session, and then will there be Q&A after that? Tell me how it works.
Yeah, great question. So first, we start out with a resource hub, which opens at 4 p.m. from 4 to 6. We have a resource hub which includes the city treasurer, HR, and Memphis Animal Services, all these different resource centers that's a part of City of Memphis, and then some are even a part of that particular community. So communities can get the needs that they need met before the town hall. So we're basically bringing City Hall to the people at every town hall. That's from 4 to 6, and then we open up at 6 with some type of special talent from that community. And then we open up after that talent with the mayor. The mayor gives an inspiring message, and then we open up for Q&A, where we follow up with Q&A. And not only do you get a chance to ask the mayor questions, but the chief of police, MLGNW, MATA, all these individuals in our community that are leaders will be a part of that town hall. And so you get to hear firsthand, not just sound bites, not what you've heard at the barbershop or the beauty shop, but you get a chance to hear it firsthand what it is that our leaders in the city trying to do and are committing themselves to do to make sure Memphis is a better place.
Do people have to sign up? Do they have to register to attend, or can they just show up?
Yeah, you can just show up. You can show up. We suggest that if you are near the area, come to that town hall, because again, we try to take a town hall to every different community. But of course, if you live in North Memphis and you have a burning question, you can come obviously to East Memphis and ask your question or get the information that you need. But just show up. It's a fun affair. So we need everybody there who's able to attend.
Okay, and where can people get an idea of when these town halls are, which location, that sort of thing? Is there a website?
Absolutely. So City of Memphis, you can follow us on our social media platforms. So City of Memphis on our Facebook and Instagram would have it. Also, the Office of Community Affairs Memphis will also have that on our pages. And then if you go to the City of Memphis website, we will have it uploaded there as well. And also continue to follow our weekly newsletters which are released every Friday. We'll have those dates apart of those newsletters as well, so you can know what's coming up next.
Anything else you want to mention, Reginald, before we let you go?
Yeah, for sure. Brene Brown says that in order for anybody to feel a part of something, they got to feel like they've been heard. And so this is the mayor's attempt. This is our office attempt. This is administration's attempt to make sure that everybody sees themselves as a part of the whole picture of Memphis. And so while we're separating them in communities and visiting each community, really, we're one Memphis. And that's the goal. That's the goal. That's the spirit of these town halls, is to see that Memphis is home to all of us. And so we're just happy and excited that we have a place to call home. We just celebrated 901 Day. We're just looking forward to everybody continue to work together.
Okay, Reginald Boyce, Special Assistant to Memphis Mayor Paul Young. We appreciate your time on the digital desk. Thank you, and good luck on the various town halls throughout the city in the coming weeks and months. We appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, thank you. Another live look from our High Five camera. Downtown Memphis, still cloudy out there. We'll be talking more about your forecast and other news on Action News 5's Digital Desk. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and at some point in our lives, you're going to have to deal with getting a new car, or at least a new car for you. At some point, you're going to have to say, it's time to trade in the old one, or it's time to sell the new one, and now I got to figure out what I should get for my next ride. What should you get? There are so many options out there, and sometimes that whole process can be very intimidating. And we're not just talking about something that's intimidating for a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old. This is for every age group. It's daunting when you think about what car you should get, how many miles should it have, should you get a used car, should you get a new car, what should you do with your trade-in, what should you do if you want to sell your car? Well, I have the perfect interview for you to really just kind of bring it down to layman's terms of what we can do and better, find a way to empower all those consumers out there that are in the market for a car. Let's bring in Stan Norton. He is the CEO of City Auto. He is also someone who sits on the board of the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission. Stan, I appreciate you joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Andrew. I'm doing very well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do we begin on this? At what point does a person say, okay, I think I might need a new car, and where should we start with that process? Because it is very daunting.
It is daunting. First, Andrew, let me just offer a disclaimer here. Even though I sit on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission today, the information offered today is my opinion. It's not an official statement from the state of Tennessee, so I have to offer that. But yeah, it is a daunting task to purchase a vehicle. It's the second largest asset an individual will buy. So you just start from the beginning. What is your need? What do you want? And then, of course, the internet has made that very opportunistic to search for that. So I think the average consumer spends something like 100 hours online just to make a purchase, only to go to less than 2 dealerships to find what they want. So it's just something that it comes down to needs and wants. But the internet's a good place to start. So do all your research. So in new cars, I mean, the average cost of a new car is $47,000. A used car is $26,000. So you start there, and that equates to a payment. So everybody's got a different need or a want. So there's a lot of things to determine when you're going to search for a car. And there's the obvious tips when you start to look for. Once you decide what you want, you got to find a dealer. And I would recommend finding a licensed dealer, someone who's reputable, and you can find that by searching online. There's all kinds of reputation tools online, like the Better Business Bureau. There's Google reviews. There's all kinds of things you can look to start finding a dealer. And once you find that dealer,
Yeah.
You gotta do a lot of research, right? You gotta
So-
there's a lot of research to be done.
Yeah,
Go
let
ahead.
me ask you something, Stan. Let me just jump in real quick. I know that there are some times, and this is just the question, some times of the year are better than others to be in the market for a new car or a used car. Can you talk a little bit about that, maybe when the best times are during the year?
I get that question asked a lot. There's really not a better time. I mean, I've been doing this 38 years. The model changes can be an opportunity to find a better deal if there's a transition in the body style. But I mean, that's a tough one. Really, there's no really good time. I mean, I hear the end of the year closeouts. I guess I can't say there's really a better time to buy a car. Now, we just went through the pandemic, and that created some challenges from supply and demand. But the supply and demand is pretty consistent now and it normalized. But I mean, really not a good time. The time is just when is the best time for you? There's not really a peak or a valley for the supply and demand of that. So I guess I say there's not a better time than today. Today's a good day to buy a car.
What about being in the car market? At what point do you, the consumer, the driver, say, I think I may need a new car? Are there some factors involved that that the consumer needs to ask themselves and then answer themselves and say, okay, yeah, I might be in the I might need a new ride?
Well, I think everybody's always looking for a car. It's like shopping for clothes. People drive down the street and they see something they like. So subconsciously, people always aspire to buy something new, but it comes down to wants and needs. And one of the things we see quite often is a person that they pay their car off and they don't have a car payment, but they start occurring deferred maintenance issues. Things start to break because typically when they pay their car off, it's got higher miles. So it's a variation of things. It's wants and needs, but I mean we see it all. But more importantly, when they start breaking, people want to get rid of. We have city auto. We have 2 service departments, and we find people when they get a very high repair bill for something, the first thing they say, I think I'd be better off just going ahead and trading it. So, but and then you got some people who like to trade every year to get a new car. So it's just a wide variety of why anybody wants to shop, but thankfully they like to shop every day. It keeps us in business.
So that brings me to my next question. What is the difference? Like when do we decide, okay, we should sell our car out there on the market, maybe an online platform, or trade it in for that new ride that we want?
Well, the internet has given us a lot of options over the past years because it used to be you'd have to call your banker, they'd give you a book value, excuse me, and you go to the dealership and you'd explain, hey, I've got a book value. Well, they wouldn't tell you where to go get that book value, but now you have that opportunity. You can go do an online search, and there's a multitude of platforms that can give you an offer online, and they'll bring you a check and pick up the car. So but I would recommend as a consumer, that's the first thing you do is if you've got to trade in, is try to find out what it's worth so and you show up at the dealership to trade it. You have a pretty good idea of what they're supposed to give you because you have gone online and gotten bids. And so it makes it a lot easier for the consumer. It takes a lot of the pressure off the car buying experience because, that's part of the negotiation. What are you going to sell me your car for? And what are you going to give me for mine? And so this opportunity to go online takes care of that. So it's made our jobs easier as well as just the overall, shopping online. When I said the average consumer goes to less than 2 dealerships to buy a car, that's because they've already gone online and they've compared prices and all the options they're looking for online. So a consumer has every tool at their fingertips to go to shop for a car. You just spend all that time doing research online, finding out what it is you want, the color, the miles, the equipment, the price, because it's all right there at your fingertips. And then you can shop for price as well. And then you get your valuation tools done online. So, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's made the car buying experience a lot simpler for the consumer because they come to the dealership prepared to buy a vehicle.
Right, exactly. We have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk Stand. And, you have said it several times that people need to do their research, their homework online first. That's best practices for someone that's in the car market. If you had maybe 2 or 3 other bullet points to give to consumers out there who are in the car market after, doing your research online, what else would you tell them?
Well, if you're going to buy a used car, and I find this all too often in my sector, in my business, and also we see it from the commission's perspective as well, is dealers. I would never buy a car from a dealer that sold a used car that sold it as is. That's disclosed. It's a federal, it's a buyer's guide. Law requires to be displayed in the window. If you see that and the dealers wants to sell you that as is, I wouldn't buy the car. I mean, you enter in an area where the dealer can hide behind the fact that he's selling it as is, and he's not responsible for anything that happens to that car after he takes it off the lot. So, you know, most reputable dealers offer some sort of coverage that, you know, it's a small coverage, generally anywhere from 1,000 miles to 6,000 miles, that it offers a stated coverage that protects the consumer if something is actually wrong with the vehicle. Now, there is all the other opportunities to extend that coverage further, but I mean, just beware. Don't, you know, if you do buy a car as is, absolutely take it and let a mechanic check it out. Don't just take the dealer's word for it. I mean, there's a lot of good dealers out there. You know, at City Auto, we work hard in our reputation. We've been in business 38 years to try to take care of our customers, and there's mostly dealers do that, but there are some characters out there that don't follow the rules, and they hurt the consumers. So that would be a tip for sure, is make sure you don't buy a vehicle as is. But also, when you're shopping online, look for the dealer. There's a lot of information. Dealers all have online reputations, and it's easy to find it through, you know, the different platforms like Google or Better Business Bureau. So if you'll look at those things, you know, nobody's perfect. You know, you're going to have issues because they're vehicles and they're man-made and they do break. But what makes a dealer different is how they handle that after the fact. You know, do you care about your customer? Are the customer going to be taken care of? So there's a lot to be considered in that. But to me, that would be the biggest thing, is make sure you find a good dealer. Do your research on the dealer itself as well as the car to make sure you get the best outcome.
Okay, he is Stan Norton, Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission and the COO of City Auto. Stan, we really appreciate the tips and advice you gave this morning here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier air stream to come into the fold. And that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond, as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying area, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5 in Clarksdale. closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, Northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, Northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine. Temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
There is a critical shortage of blood right now. In fact, it is gotten to the point where the American Red Cross is calling this an emergency type situation because it is plummeted. The inventories have plummeted a lot this summer. Let's bring in someone to talk about the blood shortage and what we can do about it. I'm joined now by Dr. Baya Lansky. She is a Division Chief Medical Officer with the American Red Cross. Dr. Lasky, good morning to you. Tell us about the blood shortage and the serious effect that it has.
Yes, well, the recent severe weather has had a significant impact on the blood supply. We have seen Hurricane Debbie, the wildfires, the tornadoes that have forced the cancellation of about 60 drives just in the last week, which means 1,500 blood donations that were not collected. This is now coming on the heels of July, where we saw record temperatures across the country during a time when it's already challenging to collect due to travel and vacation plans. So as you said, since July 1st, the American Red Cross blood supply has dropped by 25%, which means about 19,000 units that have not been collected. And we are working very closely with our hospitals around the clock to make sure that patient needs are met. But unfortunately, the blood is going out the door faster than we are able to collect it.
Right, and right now you need all blood types, but type O is the most favored, right?
That's right. Donors of all blood types are welcome to come donate. No matter what your blood type, you can help patients. But you're exactly right. Type O blood product is particularly low. O negative is patients of any blood type and are particularly critical for emergencies. And so distributions of these most high demand, most needed blood types have been reduced to hospitals in recent months. And then also platelets of all blood types are in constant need as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the best ways, because we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the digital desk. We broadcast to West Tennessee, North Mississippi, and Eastern Arkansas. What are the best ways that people can go ahead and donate blood?
Yes, well, you can find us at redcrossblood.org, call us at 1-800-RED CROSS, or find us on the Red Cross Blood Donor app. You can find a location near you to make an appointment. And we are encouraging everyone, if you have never donated before, it is easy and it's a short amount of time that of your day that you can save a life and touch someone else's survival. As a thank you, we are offering a $20 Amazon gift card to anyone who comes in during the month of August. And I would just encourage people, patients depend on hospitals, hospitals depend on us, and we depend on you to help support them. So please, as you go about your summer, please remember the people who are in the hospital who need transfusions today, tomorrow, next week. We really need people to come out and donate.
All right, Dr. Baya Lasky, we appreciate you and everything that the American Red Cross does for everyone, especially in those moments where we need the American Red Cross the most. Thank you, and hopefully the message has been sent out loud and clear to the thousands of people who watch us. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. There are more cancer survivors today than ever before, and their needs begin from the date of diagnosis throughout their lifespan. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society hears firsthand every day from patients, from family members, caregivers, volunteers affected by blood cancer with their concerns and questions about a diagnosis, treatment, and much, much more. But I want to talk about how they are not alone. None of them are. Joining me now is Tricia Hernandez. She is Director of Community Engagement with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Good morning, Tricia. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about some of the support and resources that are so valuable for everyone that has been diagnosed with leukemia and lymphoma, including those caregivers and the family members. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be here during Blood Cancer Awareness Month. From my own experience, when I was first diagnosed, I went where most of us go to look for information about something we don't know. I went to the internet, and I was completely overwhelmed and received a lot of information about statistics. And I really left that experience with a lot of fear and concern about what was next for me. And what I've learned through LLS and working with patients and caregivers every day is having a reliable, valid source of information for disease, treatment, and ongoing survivorship is really key. And LLS can provide that to patients and caregivers. And I think what patients leave with when they have that kind of information and support is more hope and less fear than I experienced.
Tell me about some of the most common challenges that people experience when they have leukemia and lymphoma.
I think initially it's really just not sure about what's going to happen next, and not having information about the disease. It can sometimes come as a surprise, the diagnosis to patients and caregivers, and they're not sure what that means and how it's going to be handled and how to talk to their healthcare team about it. And LLS has education information that helps people better understand their disease and their treatment options, and even information about how to talk to their healthcare team, family members, and friends about it, as well as education information for healthcare uh, teams to talk to their patients about it. And that first piece of really better understanding what's going on with you helps you manage it more effectively and really be less fearful about the unknown. But after that, it's practical concerns. How am I financially going to manage this? Am I going to be able to continue going to work and school? How am I going to take care of my family? Will they need to take care of me? Am I going to be a burden on them? And even longer term, how am I going to deal with this for the rest of my life? Is it going to affect me for the rest of my life? Am I going to have manage side effects forever with this? And if I have a chronic blood cancer, how will I manage going in and out of treatment for the rest of my life, and what that means? And LLS really has looked at understanding the full experience that blood cancer patients and caregivers go through, and provides resources for all of those things I just mentioned.
So, Tricia, we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the Action News 5 digital desk. If someone is hearing about this and perhaps they have a family member or a friend that's been diagnosed with leukemia or lymphoma, where should they begin?
They can begin with a simple phone call to an information specialist that will connect them to all the resources I've mentioned and more at 1-800-955-4572. And everything I've talked about is also available at lls.org.
And what would be your message? You're a blood cancer survivor yourself. You are a part of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. What would be your initial comments to them?
I would say make sure that you are taking care of yourself and getting regular checkups and blood work done. If something feels wrong, go to your doctor and talk to them about it, and be very confident in leaving that, knowing what's going on with you. And then if it does ultimately end up that you have a blood cancer diagnosis, your first stop can be the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and one of our information specialists is glad to support you in better understanding your diagnosis and treatment options, and really helping you connect to support services for everything from understanding your disease, connecting with someone who's a peer who may have been through that already, and into survivorship and managing the rest of your life as a blood cancer survivor.
Tricia Hernandez, we appreciate you coming on the digital desk. Thank you for an important discussion that needed to be had with regards to this issue, leukemia, lymphoma, the support, and what people need to do if they're diagnosed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I want to talk a little bit about behavioral health. And improving that behavioral health. Sometimes it can be difficult. It can certainly be a challenge out there, but there is now a focus on improving behavioral health across the Memphis and Mid-South region, including the Latin community in Memphis. I'm joined right now on the Action News 5 digital desk by Dr. Elena De La Vega. She is a professor at the Department of Social Work at the University of Memphis to talk more about a recent grant you received that is entitled to just that, improving behavioral health, especially in the Latin community. Good morning. Tell me about it.
Good morning. Yes, the School of Social Work at the University of Memphis has been dedicated to improving behavioral health among all populations. We have had a number of grants, training grants for our students on behavioral health, which is an essential component of health. So many of the diseases that plague our community are behavioral in nature, based in diet, exercise, behaviors, a number of things. And the Latino community, the Hispanic or Latino community in Memphis has grown tremendously to the point where the census doesn't actually reflect this tremendous growth. You can see the growth of the Latino community more reflected in the school district data and in the number of people that Church Health serves. And they do serve a very, very large percent of their population that are Hispanic or Latino, and not always able to speak English. And so to this effect, the University of Memphis and Church Health have collaborated for a few years now. And of course, this most recent grant is going to expand these services and help this population even more to provide these behavioral health services to the Latino community in Spanish so that they are served in a way that is not only linguistically competent, but also culturally competent. And this is so important because as the Hispanic community becomes larger and stronger in our community, they are such an important part of the fabric of this community. They are going to be part of what makes Memphis succeed and be one of the important urban communities in the country, which we are.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is fantastic.
Yeah. No, I understand, and congratulations on this grant at $60,000 for 1 year to enhance the behavioral health sciences to the underserved and largely the Latin community in Memphis. So what does that look like? Yeah, a $60,000 grant, what does that look like over the next 12 months?
So what we do is that we have social work services. We have social workers who are trained in social work or master's level social workers, licensed social workers, providing the services directly to the Latino community. And it's not only the language, like I said, it's also the cultural competency. It's how we address people that are Hispanic or Latino, and how do we work with them to help them meet their behavioral health goals. And that ultimately leads to improved physical health, improved mental health, improved well-being, and improved community integration. So thriving. What we are doing by having social work in a cultural and linguistically competent way at Church Health is help a population that has been marginalized thrive. And we can see that poverty for this community has been very high for the past few years. It's coming down. So this is another important thing. The Hispanic community can help Memphis thrive when we provide the support in behavioral health and in social work to help this community thrive. They're such a big part of the fabric of our community.
We have thousands of people who watch us each and every morning on the digital desk. Elena, if there's someone that's watching and they want to help or want to be a part of this, or perhaps they just want to learn more, what would you recommend people do?
Well, contact Church Health. That would be one of them. And definitely support the School of Social Work at the University of Memphis so that we can train even more linguistically and culturally competent social workers who can help with the Latino community and with all the communities. In this particular instance, we're working with the Latino community or Hispanic community in Memphis, but in fact, the School of Social Work is dedicated to improving behavioral health across the spectrum of populations. We have a very large number of grants that do precisely that and train social workers in behavioral health, because behavioral health is the foundation to physical and mental health. A lot of what we experience is going to be behavioral in nature. Most of our problems can be prevented. And that's where behavioral health comes in. It's an important element in that prevention and in achieving longer lifespans in better health and preventing disease in the first place. So this particular instance is for Latinos, but we really focus on the entire community.
All right, Dr. Elena De La Vega, we appreciate your time. Congratulations once again on the grant, and we look forward to hearing more about the next 12 months and the improvement of behavioral health, especially in the Latin community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, another live look from our High Five camera here outside of our studios at 1960 Union Avenue, 72 degrees, 819. We'll be talking about your forecast in 60 seconds.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier airstream to come into the fold, and that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying areas, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale, closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine. Temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
The Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. I want to show you this. This is a flyer for a Taste of Memphis that is coming up Thursday, September 19th, celebrating one Memphis with endless possibilities. Let's talk more about this event with Joyce Cox. She is Senior Manager of Office of Neighborhood Engagement with the City of Memphis. Joyce, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us about this event. It's been around about 10 years, right?
Yes, this is our 10th year, and this is through our offices with Housing and Community Development. And I want to say a shout out to our Director Ashley Cash, and Mayor Paul Young. But yes, this is an event that we've been doing since 2014, and it is where we give our neighborhood organizations one table, 2 chairs, and 4 hours just to celebrate their greatness. So we are excited about our 10th year. We'll have live entertainment. Our neighborhoods will set up booths, and the booths will be around our theme, and that is celebrating one Memphis with endless possibilities.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this is on Tiger Lane.
Tiger Lane.
And So, and this is from 5 until 10 o'clock in the evening. And
That's correct.
it's a taste of Memphis. So tell me about the food, because we all, of course, want to know about the food.
Well, let me say this. It's a play on words, okay? It is a taste of Memphis, but Memphis is just not known for our food. We'll have all kind of food trucks there. We have the chicken main. I think that's how you say it, the chicken main. We'll have Deuce Wagon, Fiesta Wagon, but we'll also have our neighborhoods. And like, for example, we'll have Glenview Community there, Orange Mound, Klondike Smoky City, Fraser. And, Fraser this year and for the last couple of years, they've had at least 30 booths around their neighborhood associations, around businesses in the community, just to connect. And there's an underlying um, method to this madness because it's about connecting communities, connecting people. Because one thing we do want to do in this make Memphis a better place to live, work, and play. And how not better than to get to know one another. But let
I
me tell
agree
you about
with
some
you.
of our entertainment as well. We'll have
Okay.
Evie McKinney. We'll have Evie McKinney. She's going to be there. Tevin LaBelle. We'll have the Nubian Sirens. They'll be there. We'll have Young Actors Guild. So we've got a lot of entertainment. We're going to have Roselle Repertory Dance Troupe from Roselle Elementary School. We're going to have Haven View Middle School Band. So we're so excited about bringing the community together.
Okay, Joyce, so we have, here it is, once again, to let everybody know, 5 to 10 o'clock, Thursday,
Exactly.
September 19th, Tiger Lane, Liberty Park there. If someone wants to go, is there a way to sign up? Can they just show up? Do they have to pay anything? How's it work?
It is absolutely free to the community. Now they'll have to come in on the Parkway side in gates 8 and 9, because also that night there will be the fair is going to be there. So we have all of Tiger Lane reserved just for our community to come out and enjoy one another. Oh, let me not forget, we got a kids zone, and the kids zone will be showing a movie in furnished by Parks, and it's called Panda 4. Kung Fu Panda 4. That's it. My son is an adult, so.
That's great, yes. Those kids know exactly what you're talking about, too.
Yes.
Yeah, they
we're
certainly
excited
do.
about that.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, listen, Joyce, if there's, is there a place online where people can go maybe get some more information about it?
Yes, they can go to memphishcd.org.
Okay, memphishcd.org. I see it there on the bottom of the flyer.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Yes, and they can also contact our office. They can contact us at 901-636-7404.
Okay,
And
Thursday,
please,
September 19th. Yes.
please come out and show your support to these young people that are doing the talents, expressing their talents, enjoy the food. And let's talk to the neighborhood organizations, because we do have a first, second, and third prize competition. It's a friendly one. And the neighborhood organizations, they are so excited because this is our 10th year and we got some fabulous stuff that's happening out there that night. So come join us. And the mayor will be there as well.
Okay, all right. Again, Thursday, September 19th, 5 to 10 o'clock in the evening, Tiger Lane, Liberty Park. Make sure you come on the Parkway side, celebrating One Memphis. Joyce Cox, thanks so much for talking about it, and look forward to an amazing event. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. There is a story if you log into the Daily Memphian at dailymemphian.com, and it is about Memphis, and it is about state government. It says, does Memphis win the battle but lose the war with gun-controlled referendum? And if you have been paying attention lately, you know exactly what that title's about. It's about whether the Memphis City Council was allowed to put a gun control or a referendum to voters this fall that would offer up some gun control remedies to some of the gun violence in our area. This is from the city council, okay? This is their words. But initially, state leaders said, one, don't do it because it goes against state law. And two, if you do in fact do it and you implement it, we're going to take away local sales tax that is going to Memphis for other projects, other areas, other improvements. Let's bring in the author of this article because it is something that has caused a lot of debate in Memphis and across the Mid-South. I'm joined now by Sam Hardiman of the Daily Memphian. He is the city beat writer for the publication and does great work there. Sam, good morning to you. What else am I missing with this back and forth? Because it's very political, but at the same time, it could have some real consequences for Memphis, I guess later, because it's almost like a political office, like in office politics, I should say, where, if you are not too careful and you upset the wrong people, then you're going to be feeling it, right?
That's right. And so, yeah, good morning, Andrew, and thanks for having me on. One of the things that people need to keep in mind is now these gun referendums, which they wouldn't preempt state law. They essentially are referendums that if the voters pass them on November 5th, and there are three questions, it would be restrict the use and the carrying of automatic weapons. It would give the city the ability, if the state enabled it, to institute a red flag law. And then the other one, I'm sorry, is escaping me at the moment. I apologize. But essentially what is happening here is these referendums are on the ballot. Chancellor Melanie Taylor Jefferson sided with the city of Memphis last week and essentially said, yes, they can be on the ballot because whether or not they're illegal and preempted by state law doesn't matter until the voters actually pass them. And so that's what is now the stakes are. And House Speaker Cameron Sexton said in a radio interview last week with conservative radio station KWAM here that he plans on filing a bill that would take away sales tax from the city of Memphis. And so the article you're referencing, and you can find it on dailymemphian.com, asks the question, essentially, what is next? What will happen here? Because the city prevailed in court. The city council prevailed in court. At the same time, you have Mayor Paul Young saying, well, I have a whole wish list of things, and I'm paraphrasing him again here, but I can tell you what the answer is going to be if we continue down this path. And he's faced heat from his left because, Young, a Democrat, is facing heat from folks who are saying, well, you're agreeing with Republicans. And so it really is sort of a very political now fight, and it's going to remain to be seen whether or not the Speaker of the House follows through and takes away sales tax from the city of Memphis, and whether Memphis, which has, like I said, a wish list of things it wants to get done in this legislative session, gets any of those things done.
And, there's this idea of, I guess, political aspirations in effect. I mean, you have J.B. Smiley, who's very political in nature, and also you have Cameron Sexton on the other side of the political aisle, who has some political aspirations as well, perhaps succeeding Bill Lee as governor. So there are certainly some folks jockeying for position, and but where I see this, and I could be wrong, is that there is a possibility, Sam, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there is a possibility that with all this jockeying of positions and political prowess and that sort of thing, Memphis could lose out millions of dollars because the two sides are at war with one another, and that state sales tax that's helping fund some of the projects in here would dry up. Am I wrong?
It's certainly possible. The speaker, again, in his interview with KWAM last week, said that he's run this bill that would take away shared sales tax from Memphis by the AG's office and that it's good to go. it remains to be seen if that bill passes and gets through the General Assembly, right? And last week we asked Governor Bill Lee during a news conference, all the media, whether he would sign it, and he did not say whether he would sign it, first of all. But second, if that bill passes, whether it would pass constitutional muster is another thing, and we could face a challenge before that. But also, to your point, Andrew, and the broader point, right, is if Memphis has other things it wants to get in Nashville this, particular legislative session that starts in January, that could be up in the air. And you have, Cameron Sexton's been discussed as a potential candidate for governor in 2026. Council Chairman J.B. Smiley, Memphis City Council Chairman J.B. Smiley Jr. has been discussed and is probably likely a candidate for Shelby County Mayor in 2026, right? And so you have, sort of on a collision course, these two things. And it's very, I think, notable that in the story we quote Sexton, he's called out Smiley by name. And so it's very interesting. We're gonna see what happens here. I've had smarter people than myself remark to me, look, it's September. This starts in mid-January. So you really have about a quarter of a year to go by, right? And so this all could blow over, or it could all heat up and be boiling by the time we get to the legislative session.
So if someone is a political observer like I am, in addition to watching Action News 5 and really reading the Daily Memphian, what should we be looking for over the next several weeks leading up to Election Day with this specific issue in mind?
I mean, you should just be looking for, how much does the city council market it, right? Do they actually try, you have plenty of time, for November 5th, though, early, like absentee votes and ballots for troops overseas go out in a couple of days here. You still have plenty of time to say market something, right? Like you could definitely get on the airwaves and push this referendum, which would be very interesting. Which would be very interesting. Or you could just let it chill. It's on the ballot and you don't do anything. And whether or not that happens would be really interesting, I think, because essentially you could then say, if you didn't market it a ton, hey, we didn't market this at all. Yes, we got it on the ballot. We weren't going to let you take it off, but we didn't put, the full weight and political weight behind this. And so that's going to be super interesting. And then also Election Day is going to be super interesting. But beyond the presidential, race, which will obviously be very interesting, though maybe not very climatic in Memphis and Tennessee, you're going to have these referendum on the ballot. And that will be interesting to see. It's a very long ballot, right? Do people get all the way to the bottom? Do they, want these measures or not? And so I think it's going to be really interesting.
I agree. Very interesting indeed. And we'll have a front row seat watching it here on the digital desk with you. Sam Hardiman of the Daily Memphian, dailymemphian.com. Anything else before we let you go, Sam?
I hope everyone gets to enjoy the sunshine that y'all are telling me is right around the corner this afternoon. I'm really hopeful that it's true and there is some sunshine.
Right, because this rain is good for the grass, bad for the golf game. And we know how much we all like golfing out there and hitting the back nine especially, or the front nine. Sam Hardiman, appreciate your time as always. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, another live look from our High Five camera here outside of our studios, 72 degrees at 9:40. We're back in 1 minute.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier airstream to come into the fold. And that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying area, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale. Closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi. With some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine. Temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I'm holding the latest edition, the September edition of Memphis Magazine, and it is chock full of all kinds of great stories, including the cover story here. The first bluff city many centuries before European settlers arrived, a community thrived here. Archaeology reveals the rich history of the first Americans in the Mid-South. Let's talk more about this edition with Anna Traverse, the CEO and editor-in-chief of Memphis Magazine, joining us on the digital desk. Anna, I love this. This brought me back to a book that I read several years ago. This goes back several years, Undaunted Courage. It was the expedition of Lewis and Clark, and they referred to Memphis as Chickasaw Bluffs. But what's great about this story written by Chris McCoy is that it goes back much further than that. I mean, and the artist renderings, I should say, they're amazing in the story. I love it.
Hey, thank you so much. And I love the cover photo too. It's by a gentleman named David Dye, and it almost to me looks like a painting. But it's a photograph of one of the mounds that First Peoples constructed right around this part of the country. So I am just so in love with this cover story. The genesis of it was a conversation that we had in one of our editorial meetings, and we were just talking about, if you're sitting somewhere in Memphis, looking out your window, trying to cast your mind back to who and what might have been here, not just 100 years ago, but 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. And so Chris McCoy really took that idea and ran with it and just talked to a lot of experts in the field of archaeology and learned so much about who was living here, because of course there were communities that were living and thriving right here in this part of what we now call the United States and what we now call Memphis. And I just think it is so absolutely fascinating to think about who those people were, how they were sustaining their lives, what their days might have looked like before European colonists came here. So we just really dove into that, and I'm so excited for people to learn more and get curious about thinking about this place in new ways.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Something that I like to do, and I've mentioned this before, Anna, is one of the first things I like to do is check out this piece because I think it's pretty great. And it's Letter to the Editor, I should say, and it's your piece. I just think, and it's not because I'm talking to you right now, I love your writing style. I tell my wife, I love your writing style, and you really we get a little glimpse of you as a person, and then Memphis and different things in your environment that affect you and you think about. I love that. I hit on that, and I hit Vance Lauderdale right away.
Oh, shucks. Thank you so much, Andrew. And I'll give you a little behind the scenes peek at this month's column. The title of it is from this poem by Elizabeth Bishop that I quote in the column. But that line, I did not mention this in the column, but it's actually tattooed on my arm. So it's really meaningful to me, and so much so that I wanted to be able to see it anytime I wanted to.
Let's see that again. I don't think I have the camera on you there. Look
Here
at that.
It is.
And what does it say?
It says, dark, salt, clear, moving, utterly free. And it's by this poem called At the Fish Houses that I love so much. And it's sort of about knowledge and clarity and wisdom and finding your own sense of a center. And so, yeah, I had someone tattoo it on me in my handwriting a few years ago.
I love it. I love it. And it's a great way to begin opening, the Memphis Magazine. You read a little bit about you and who you are and what you're thinking, and then you go into the latest edition of Memphis Magazine. Great stuff. And I'm really looking forward to really diving in to Chris McCoy's piece. Something else.
Really recommend the cover story. So fascinating.
Yes. I can't wait. Tell me more about Curb's enthusiasm. That was something that struck a note.
Yeah, I'm glad that you pointed to that. So this is an article. It's part of our Local Treasures series about Mike Curb and the Mike Curb Institute at Rhodes, and really just really talking about Mike Curb, about his impact in the music industry, but also in Memphis, and the way that he has translated that into education opportunities. So yeah, I hope that people will get to know a little bit more about him and the work that he's doing at Rhodes College through the Mike Curb Institute.
Yeah, that is cool, and also Rhodes being a part of Vance Lauderdale's piece a little bit there on the tower on campus. That's cool too.
Yeah, my mother was a professor at Rhodes College for many years, and so of course I'm familiar with the Halliburton Tower. Her office was right next to it, but I have to be honest and say I never really knew why it was named for Richard Halliburton. So Vance Lauderdale gives us some background on that, and it's a slightly odd story because it turns out that Halliburton had no obvious connection to Rhodes College. He didn't go there, but just you'll find out more if you read it. But it's it's an interesting story, and he sounds like a fascinating guy.
Yes, that's what we call in the industry a tease for people to read.
Exactly.
The article. So finally, one of my favorite places to go, especially on the weekends, Bog and Barley, and boy, they hit it out of the park each and every time I go there.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing something completely different here. I love that they imported so much of the place from across the pond. I mean, who does that? So it looks and feels like an authentic pub in Scotland. I mean, with peat included, some peat moss that they've got hanging out over there. And yeah, I loved Bruce's piece about it, and he always each month takes us on a little cocktail journey to a different bar around town. So what I love is that he often will include sort of the setting and the conversations that he's having with the bartender and the story behind what they're putting in the glass. So you really kind of get a little bit more than just your average review. You kind of get a sense of the people and the stories behind it.
Excellent. Anything else before we let you go? It's on newsstands now, memphismagazine.com as well.
Yeah.
What else can we mention?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I always like to draw people's attention to the calendar. We always offer a really good list of what to do around town this month. I'll also shout out our, we call it 901 Health. It's our medical and health feature that we include on a regular basis. And for this month, actually, we got a first person account by Shara Clark, who's the editor of the Memphis Flyer. And Shara had a really traumatic break in her lower leg a number of months ago, and has spent time getting that treated, having a series of surgeries, doing physical therapy. So she really takes the reader through the process of getting her mobility back, getting her strength back. And we do feature these medical and health articles on a regular basis, but I just think they're so much more meaningful when there's a personal narrative behind them. So it sounds like a really painful and difficult journey, but she's getting so much better, and she talks about the doctors who have helped her get there. So I think that's a really meaningful and moving story as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I'm looking forward to checking it out and reading everything. Anna Traverse, really appreciate you and your staff. I say it every time when you join us on the digital desk, but thank you for all that you do for Memphis and the Mid-South and for this month's Memphis Magazine. Appreciate it.
Well, and Andrew, thank you for helping us to shine a light on it. We really appreciate you and the time that you give us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Anna. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier airstream to come into the fold. And that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying area, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations. 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale. Closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Get this, every 36 minutes, a child in the U.S. is diagnosed with cancer. It is a terrifying situation, but there is still plenty of hope when someone has been diagnosed. Treatments continue to advance. More than 85% of children diagnosed with cancer survive 5 years or more. It is a huge improvement from the mid-70s when the five-year survival rate was about 58%. So going from 58 to 85%, a big deal. There is a nonprofit out there. It's called Hope on Wheels. It has contributed to research and program grant funding, bringing its total giving to $250 million. The nonprofit is awarding $26 million in childhood cancer research grants this year, and people are here to help. Let's bring in a couple of folks now to talk about this issue. I am joined by Kevin Riley. He's a Hyundai Hope on Wheels board member, and Rainey is a 12-year-old cancer survivor. Thank you for joining us on the digital desk. So first off, Kevin, it's good to see you again. I know we've talked in the past, but for our audience out there, can you once again talk about the Hope on Wheels program? Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Andrew, and thank you for having Rainey and myself right here and telling the story of Hyundai Hope on Wheels and our mission to put an end to pediatric cancer. So the way it works is simple. Every time a Hyundai is sold, Hyundai dealers and Hyundai Motor America, we put our money together, and that money goes to fund pediatric cancer research grants through Hyundai Hope on Wheels. And those grants are donated all across the nation. And as you mentioned earlier, in our 26-year history, we've donated $250 million in pediatric cancer research grants, $26 million in this year alone.
So, Rainey, I want to talk about your story. First off, thank you for joining us here. You're a brave young lady. Tell us a little bit about your background, Rainey.
Thank you for having me. So when I was 6 years old, my mother took me to the doctor because my energy was low. She thought I had strep throat. Soon after my vitals crashed, I was airlifted to a children's hospital where I was diagnosed with ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This is a type of cancer in the blood and bone marrow. And now I'm here with Kevin, and we're sharing about Hyundai Hope on Wheels as I am a National Youth Ambassador.
And you're doing a great job. Let me finish that sentence for you.
Thank you.
So, Kevin, tell me, what changes have we seen in the fight against pediatric cancer? You know, we have St. Jude Children's Research Hospital right in our backyard here in Memphis, so we're very well aware of the research that goes on and the fight against childhood cancer. But from your perspective, what have you seen in terms of changes in that research? Gosh, it's so critical, isn't it?
Yeah, research is critical. And actually, there are two things that are critical in putting an end to pediatric cancer, and that is money and awareness. So certainly money drives that research, but also awareness drives more funding for pediatric cancer research. And you know, one of the interesting changes that we've seen in the treatment of cancer is the less invasive technologies that have been developed over these last 26 years, like HIFU technology, high intensity focused ultrasound, that allow life after cancer for a child to be, you know, a much better life with much fewer consequences in that regard.
So, Rainey, if there are some people watching and they recently got a diagnosis, what would you tell them to maybe lift up their spirits?
I tell them it takes both sunshine and rain to make a rainbow. And even if that rainbow's not as bright as you hope to be, it's still a rainbow in the end.
I love that. That is so great. I appreciate that. So Kevin, if someone wants to learn more information, because we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning, and they want to learn more about Hope on Wheels and this organization and perhaps a way to donate, where can they go?
Well, I would encourage your viewers to go to HyundaiHopeOnWheels.org, where they'll learn more about our fight to put an end to pediatric cancer, but more importantly, learn about our National Youth Ambassador, Rainey Clark, and her story of courage and bravery, and I think truly be inspired by what she's accomplished with her life, and certainly will do so in the future.
Inspiration indeed. Okay, Kevin and Rainey, we appreciate your time on the digital desk. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You got it. All right. Another live look from our High Five camera outside of our studios here in Midtown. 74 degrees, 10:06. More Action News 5's digital desk right after this. Morning, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Do you know about atrial fibrillation? It's also known as AFib, and it is incredibly common in adults, but it's so often overlooked in so many different regular doctor visits. In fact, AFib is missed 93% of the time, and it's so important to diagnose it because AFib patients are 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Let's talk more about atrial fibrillation with our next guest here. I'm joined by Dr. Jen Caudle, a family physician, joining us on the digital desk. So Dr. Caudle, good morning to you. Tell us first off for our audience what AFib is and maybe some of the biggest conceptions of it. Good morning.
Sure. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, atrial fibrillation, or AFib for short, it's a heart rhythm abnormality. It's where the heart beats irregularly and sometimes fast as well. One of the biggest issues with atrial fibrillation, as you mentioned in your intro, is that it can increase the risk of stroke by 5 times. This is really an important condition to talk about. It's why I'm excited to partner with Omron Healthcare to raise awareness about AFib. September is AFib Awareness Month, so this is very, very important.
And what about the misconceptions? Because we know that it is something that as you mentioned can make someone more likely to have a stroke. Are there other misconceptions out there that are pretty common among people?
Yeah. Well, yes, I do. I think that not a lot of people know or understand what AFib is or understand the symptoms. For example, symptoms can range from things such as fast heart rate or irregular heart rate or palpitations, feeling jittery, to feeling lightheaded or dizzy, or feeling fatigued, being short of breath. But also, some people don't have any symptoms at all. So the symptoms can range. And I think a lot of people don't know that. I also think a lot of people don't really understand the stroke risk, like the increase in stroke risk 5 times, potentially that's severe and very serious, but also the risk factors. Things like high blood pressure is a risk factor for atrial fibrillation. Also increasing age. As we get older, our risk gets higher, especially over the age of 40. Sleep apnea is a risk factor, alcohol use, etc. So I think these are things that people just may not always be aware of.
Gotcha. And how do we get tested for AFib?
Yeah. So, I think there's a couple of things people hopefully want to know. I mean, if they're listening to this segment, they may say, well, what am I supposed to do and how would I get checked out for this? So I would say there's probably 3 things that we can focus on. And by the way, Omron Healthcare has a campaign really about, raising awareness about atrial fibrillation and reducing the risk of strokes and heart attacks. We're going for 0, really is the campaign. But the first thing is, I want people to see their doctor regularly. I'm a family doctor. I want you to come in not just when you're sick, but when you're well too, for your physical. Because I'll be honest with you, as a family doctor, I've often picked up atrial fibrillation in someone's heart just by listening to them. Now, of course, we listen. If we hear an abnormal heart rhythm, we will then do an EKG, which definitively tells us. And then the person may need to have other testing as well. But having your heart listened to is going to be really important. The second thing I would say is listen to your body. If you're having any of the symptoms that I mentioned or anything else that's unusual, see your doctor and get checked out. And the third thing I wanted to mention is, take a look at what tools you can use at home to help. I mentioned that high blood pressure is one of the risk factors for atrial fibrillation. Well, I'm working with Omron Healthcare, and I recommend their blood pressure monitors for a lot of people. I have them myself at home. My parents have them. But Omron has now come up with something called Omron Complete. This is not only a blood pressure monitor, but an EKG machine all in one. And this may be a tool, amongst others, that may be very helpful for patients to use. You want to talk with your doctor and see if this is right for you. But there are things that can be done. And to your question, yes, there's testing, EKGs, and further testing that we can do should we hear something irregularly on your heart or if you have unusual symptoms.
I know you mentioned some of the warning signs. Can we list them again so people at home, if they're watching this, because we have thousands that join us each and every morning, they can go and check off the warning signs at home?
Sure. So potential warning signs of atrial fibrillation might be things like your heart beating hard or fast or irregularly, feeling like you have palpitations, feeling like you feel your heart beating hard, feeling fatigued, tired, lightheaded, dizzy, shortness of breath. Any and all of those, and even potentially other symptoms, could be a sign of atrial fibrillation. Keep in mind, however, that not everyone has those symptoms. There's a decent number of people who will not have any symptoms at all, which is why not only listening to your body is important, but getting those regular checkups so that someone can listen to your heart for you. That's also important.
Absolutely, I agree. And finally, where can we learn more information about it if someone wants to just kind of look up, atrial fibrillation, I should say, online?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recommend going to OmronHealthcare.com. And at that website, OmronHealthcare.com, you can not only learn about some tools that might be helpful for you at home, but also you can also learn more about atrial fibrillation there as well.
Okay, Dr. Jen Caudle, family physician, appreciate this conversation that we had on the digital desk. Thanks for the info for all of our audience. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk here on a Monday. We're not done with the rain just yet, but we're almost at the end. There's the light at the end of the tunnel. Mostly cloudy skies. Passing showers continue here, especially this morning, but the coverage of rain will start to taper off as we head towards the afternoon hours. High temperatures will top out in the upper 70s to lower 80s. It's still looking off to the east of us, potential tropical cyclone number 8. You're probably thinking, okay, why do I care here in the Mid-South? Well, this is actually what's going to help to drive in some drier air, which right now is centered more so over East Tennessee. Well, what happens is typically on the eastern side of these large areas of low pressure, you're going to get that drier airstream to come into the fold, and that's what's going to ultimately happen as we head through the course of the day tonight, really starting and then continuing into tomorrow and beyond as that swirling area of low pressure works its way up towards the mountains, and of course still holding in that drier air, getting wedged into our area after a couple of days here of very wet conditions. This is the rainfall estimates over the last 7 days here across parts of the Mid-South. And again, most spots anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of rainfall in many locations, 6 to 9 inches of rainfall in most locations, kind of centered here across Mississippi County through eastern Arkansas back into southwest Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But in the outlying area, some spots here, barely anything, comparatively to other locations, 3 inches around Oxford, closer to 2.5, and Clarksdale. Closer to about 4 and 5 inches of rainfall back over into the Highway 45 corridor. Now, the rains continue to come down here this morning, so we're adding more to the rains down across our southwesternmost communities here this morning. But drier air is beginning to nudge its way into the Mid-South here this morning. So eventually we'll start to see some drying. West Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, maybe some sunshine breaks here later today. I think it's going to be more clouds than not across eastern Arkansas, northwest Mississippi, with some passing showers still possible this afternoon, more spotty in nature when it comes down to the coverage. Highs again upper 70s to lower 80s. Tomorrow morning starting off in the 60s, the skies clear out. We could have some zones of fog as the winds go calm tonight. We'll work our way through the 80s yet again for your Tuesday. Beautiful day of weather after a couple of very long drab days across the area. The dry weather continues into your Wednesday. Temperatures rebounding back through the mid 80s once again. Upon the extended forecast, there you go with a 79 today on the average. Again, a lot of clouds. Maybe a couple sun peaks later today. We're going to be hopeful for that. But if you don't get it here today, you have a better chance of doing it for tomorrow after some morning low clouds and fog, giving way to sunshine, temperatures in the mid 80s after a morning start in the 60s. We'll keep the 60s going through the early portion of this week. Gradually a little warmer as we head towards the back end of this week. Average high this time of year is like 86 degrees. So we'll go a nudge above average going towards Friday, Saturday, and mid 80s continue into your Sunday. There's a front that's looming in the extended forecast sometime early next week that could kick up a couple of showers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple showers in through here between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week as that front gets a little bit closer to us from the west. That will eventually help to usher in hopefully some drier, cooler air into next week. But as a general rule, though, again, showery still here today, eventually getting back into some sunshine breaks here soon enough. Of course, you can stay up to date with the very latest on the weather information anytime and everywhere on the Action News 5 First Alert Weather app. You can download it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas, and I'm joined now by Reef Faberman, the Trust for America's Health Director of Strategic Communications and Policy Research. Good morning to you. Let's talk a little bit about this new report that I'm hearing about epidemics of alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths. And give me the facts and the findings that surround this report. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is an annual report that Trust for America Health does, and we track the number of deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide, both at the national level and at the state level. And there's some good news at both of those levels, although the number of deaths over the last 2 decades has really increased at very alarming rates. We're up 142% in these deaths, alcohol, drug, and suicide deaths over the last 2 decades. So we have a lot of work to do. But for the very latest data, which is for 2022, there is a glimmer of some good news. Nationally, alcohol drugs are down 6%. And in Tennessee, these deaths due to alcohol, drugs, and suicide are down across the board. Your alcohol deaths are down 2%, your drug overdose deaths are down 1%, and your suicide deaths are down 2%. So that's good news. However, we also need to remember that even with these reductions, over 6,400 people have died in Tennessee in 2022 from substance abuse or suicide.
How much is this related to the pandemic? I mean, I know we've been out of the pandemic now, but how much is it related to that?
Yeah, it's a good question because there is data that suggests that when we were able to come out of the pandemic, the public health emergency ended, people were able to get back to a more normal routine, going to an office, going to work, being able to socialize, going out to restaurants, etc. That helped people's sense of social isolation, any loneliness, because we did see very high increases, double-digit increases in alcohol and suicide deaths in 2020 and 2021. Now we see kind of a leveling off in 2022. So the end of the pandemic probably did impact these numbers.
So we have these numbers. They're extremely high, even though they aren't as high as they have been in the past. They are still extremely high. How do we bring it down?
Yeah, it's important to remember that even though we have seen a leveling off, the numbers across the last 2 decades are just astronomically high. So we need to do a couple of things. We need to invest in prevention programs and in the community conditions that allow people to thrive. We need to invest in harm reduction programs, things like readily available naloxone. Naloxone is a overdose reversal drug medication, and that needs to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl test strips need to be readily available in communities. Fentanyl is the largest driver of drug overdose. We also need to ensure that we have a mental health system in this country and a substance abuse prevention system that is large enough to meet all the need and that has the diversity and the language skills and the understanding of individual community culture to allow it to be really welcoming to anyone who needs help and effective for anyone who needs help.
What else can we talk about with regards to this study? And, you know, we've addressed this problem, this issue. It's still a mess when it comes to our area of West Tennessee and North Mississippi, Eastern Arkansas. What else can we talk about with solutions here?
Yeah, I would again point to the importance of a mental health services system that is as large as the scope of the problem. Many Americans, 53% of Americans, live in mental health workforce shortage areas, which means that if a person needs some kind of mental health services or substance abuse prevention services, they're likely put on a waiting list and they have to wait until they can get the services they need. That's something that really needs to be addressed. We also need to invest in prevention programs in schools. Schools are such a natural place to be able to help kids, to understand who needs help and the kind of help they need. So prevention programs in school, programs that teach coping skills and teach resilience, also very important.
Okay, Ms. Farman, thank you so much for joining us on the Digital Desk. We appreciate your time and really just kind of analyzing this latest study that shows some progression, but still we got a long, long way to go. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. I want to talk about Wounded Warrior Project right now. They partner with organizations all across the country to expand reach and enhance programs, improve advocacy efforts for post 9/11 injured veterans and their families. And in return, the organization provides companies with a way to support their communities, involve employees, make an impact in the lives of the wounded, the ill, and the injured veterans. I want to talk more about what they do and how important these nonprofit business relationships are. I'm joined now, I believe it's Bree Katzer-Todd, VP of Business Development for Wounded Warrior Project, and Brian Tucker with CSX. Thank you both for joining us. Bree, over to you. Tell us about some of the programs and services offered to veterans through Wounded Warrior Project, and how do these corporate sponsorships and partnerships really help make these services possible? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us. Wounded Warrior Project has a number of different programs to really meet the warrior where they are in their recovery journey. And they focus on mental and brain health, financial wellness, connection, advocacy efforts, as well as physical health and wellness. And we provide these programs free of charge to the warriors and their family members. And that's really where our corporate partners step in, because they help us fuel our programs and services. They help provide much needed funding. They engage their employees. They connect with communities, and they help amplify the mission of Wounded Warrior Project each and every day.
Brian, over to you. Tell me about CSX involvement with Wounded Warrior Project and why you decided to get involved, and specifically about this drone program, I believe, that you are helping fund, right?
That's correct. Well, service is really part of CSX's DNA. Every day, the men and women of CSX, the 23,000 railroaders, are out there in service to our country's economy, keeping goods moving across the country. But our connection to service runs even deeper than that. About 1 in 5 of our employees is a veteran, has served our country. So it's something that we care deeply about, something that our employees are very close to. And that's why we're so proud to partner with the Wounded Warrior Project to offer a whole host of programs and support and resources, but the one that we're particularly proud of is the Warriors to Work program, and this is the drone certification program. We have equipment, we have experts, we use drones in the railroad industry, and we train these veterans to get certified as drone pilots to help with that transition from military service to the civilian world. And that is something that we're really excited about, and we're very proud to help these warriors as they make that transition, because we know that it can be a challenge.
Bree, tell me a little bit about Wounded Warrior Project. So many of us know that name and maybe have some familiarity with what exactly it is, but can you spell it out for us, and how long you guys been in existence and what exactly you do?
Absolutely. So Wounded Warrior Project, we've been around for 20 years, and we started as a very small organization, and now we're a national organization with a local impact. So we serve warriors and family members in their community, and we provide a number of different programs. As I mentioned, they are free to the warriors and their families, and those programs are still in need. We have 71 warriors signing up every single day for our programs and services. And we're able to deliver them because of companies, because of individuals that have raised their hand. And so we're continuing to provide the necessary programs and services to warriors each and every day.
Bree, we have thousands of people that watch us each and every morning here on the digital desk. If someone is watching and perhaps they're a business owner or perhaps they're just an employee and they want to help out, what are the best ways to do that?
Well, I would welcome anyone to go to woundedwarriorproject.org, and there you will find a number of different ways to get involved, whether you're a company, an individual, as you mentioned, an employee, and you want to take this back to your company. And also, if you are a veteran, a warrior, a family member, and you want to learn more about our programs and get involved, you can find all of the information there also. So it's woundedwarriorproject.org.
Brian, did you mention something about the drone program yet?
Yes, I did. That's a program, it's the Warriors to Work program, and we're specifically focused on providing drone certification training to the Wounded Warriors through the Wounded Warrior Project, and something that we're very proud of.
And tell me what it's been like to partner with Wounded Warrior Project. Has it benefited your business, employees, what?
Well, our partnership with the Wounded Warrior Project is something that we are extremely proud of. As a partner, you know, you want to have a relationship where you can grow together, and that's exactly what we've done. I mentioned that we have a number of things that we're working on, but we're always working together to increase the impact. It's more than just writing a check. It's really about getting our employees involved, finding ways to make connections that make sense for our business, and we've actually hired some of the Wounded Warrior members, and it's just something that we're really proud of and that we look to continue for the years ahead.
Okay, Bree and Brian, we appreciate you coming on the digital desk, informing our audience about the importance of not only supporting the Wounded Warrior Project, but also those nonprofit business relationships. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, Andrew Douglas here. Welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I want to tell you about something that's pretty cool that's coming up here September 17th. The Shelby County Division of Corrections will host the Memphis Symphony Orchestra for a performance behind bars for the very first time. So the Symphony Orchestra will play in partnership with the Overton Park Shell on Wheels. The performance is for the population of the Shelby County Division of Corrections and their families to get time together to experience reflection and rehabilitation through music. I'm joined now by Peter Abell, director of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra, and Natalie Wilson, director of Overton Park Shell. Good morning to you both. So let me begin with the idea that who sparked this idea and how did it come together? I leave it up to both of you to talk on this one.
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us. It's so fun to be here with Natalie. The Shell and the Symphony have a long, long history, and recently we've been hosting the Sunset Symphony together. So we've gotten to be really good friends. We were invited by Mayor Harris and the county, and it was such an exciting invitation that I think we very quickly each said yes. Let's figure out how to make this work. And the fact that the Shell, and I'll let Natalie talk about this, but has this amazing mobile shell on wheels, it allowed us to have a stage to play on. And we're actually using, Andrew, our big band which is about a 15-person, jazz-oriented swing band featuring brass and piano, and a singer, Cortland Whalum, will be with us as well.
That
Yeah, we were
sounds
really
amazing.
honored.
Natalie, go ahead.
No, we're just honored to see past our own communities and bring the performing arts to everyone. Both of our missions of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra and Overton Park Shell is that we can come together, make the performing arts accessible to everyone, and really bring joy behind bars wherever people are, and that we can enjoy something that's very unique and cutting edge for our community. It's never been done. So we're very honored to be a part with Shelby County government to be in partnership to make this possible.
So give me the logistics for a minute here. Is this going to be at 201 Poplar? How's it going to work? I'm curious.
Well, Natalie sets the stage, so we'll go to wherever the stage is set. But we'll be at the corrections facility known as the Penal Farm there, which has a lot of space. And what's really special about this is it's for the families as well of the inmates. So this one of the things that the symphony believes in, that the mayor believes in, and certainly the Shell and their whole team there believe in, is these moments together, these musical moments, these sitting down together with your friends and family and just experiencing this time together is just powerful. It brings people together. We know there's data that shows it helps heal people and inspire people. So the logistics work because of our belief in that, of this shared value, and the fact that they can literally wheel in a stage and create a professional stage in this setting allows us to go in. We're actually rehearsing tonight, this evening, and then we'll be able to go in and perform the concert tomorrow.
Yeah, and with the mobile shell, we bring the sound, lighting, and power. So we just bring everything, doesn't matter where it is. We go right behind bars and we just pop up and create the beautiful magic that you find here at the Overton Park Shell with the sounds of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra and how powerful that is. So coming together, creating it wherever people are, and we bring the infrastructure together. It's really something we're very honored to be able to do.
Overton Park Shell's fantastic, Memphis Symphony Orchestra, Sunset Symphony I've been to plenty of times. You guys are fantastic as well. We have thousands of people that watch us on the digital desk, and there might be a question or two from people saying, hey, look, these people are behind bars. It's supposed to be punishment, but here you are giving a concert to them. What do you say to that?
I'm sure it's another thing we share and believe is that we're here for the whole community, and there's really no limits to that, including bars. And, what just happened to be someone who knows and cares about rehabilitation and prisoner reentry. These are citizens. They're coming to live in our community. They won't stay there. They're coming back to Memphis. So they're our neighbors and our friends and our coworkers, and we want to be part of making sure they feel included in the entire community.
Yeah, we believe that music, the performing arts, is a change maker. It brings us together, but it also changes the way we see ourselves and the way we see our community. And it is something that's holistically healthy.
Anything else you want the community to know about this concert? I know it's September 17th, and it's going to be at the Penal Farm, as you mentioned. Anything else you'd like to discuss?
Well, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. We always talk about trying to reach as many people as we can. It's something Natalie and I talk about all the time. And so this invitation was special. And we also, you will see a little bit of a twist. We wanted it to be kind of a popular music opportunity, which is why we're doing what we call the big band presentation. And our great friend Cortland Whalum, who's another great Memphian artist, who's going to be singing with us. So it's going to just be fantastic. And I hope if you're watching this, that you remember that the Memphis Symphony is for you too, and to check us out at memphisymphony.org and see if there's a concert or an experience you'd like to be part of.
Natalie, care to weigh in?
No, I agree. And I think that it's an example of what is accessible through it's what Memphis Symphony Orchestra produces, but what the Overton Park Shell produces every year. We're in the middle of our free concert series right now. It's open, it's for everyone. So this is just a sample of, we go outside of our communities. The Shell, we sit in Midtown, but we're going outside of Midtown to wherever people are. And that is the joy of what we believe is accessibility, and in my mind is equity. And we really want an equitable music experience for all. And that's what we're doing right with Shelby County government. We're very honored.
Okay, Peter and Natalie, we appreciate your time here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Good luck on the concert on September 17th.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There is a live look from our high-five camera in downtown Memphis. Still some clouds out there. We'll be talking about the forecast in a little bit, but right now I want to talk about expiration dates and labels and how you can tell the difference between use by, best by, and sell by. To the Action News 5 Digital Desk, I'm Andrew Douglas. I want to talk a little bit about food expiration dates. They can be really confusing when you think about it. I mean, you see best by, used by, sell by, all these different things. So what do all of them mean, and when should we not buy those, and when it's perhaps okay to buy it? I'm joined right now by our friend on the Action News 5 Digital Desk, Quinay Johnson. She's a clinical dietitian at Regional One Health, and she's back with us. Quinay, nice to see you again. Let's talk about this issue. Does it come up often in your practice?
It does not come up often because I do acute care, so people are really worried about the trauma experiences that they're going through now. But in passing with family and friends, this conversation is brought up.
I bet. So is there a certain rule, or maybe there's several rules that, like guidelines, just to follow when it comes to looking at the label, specifically expiration dates? Let's hear it.
Yes, so I did a little research before we had our conversation today, and food labeling can be confusing because there is no standard language for it, and it's up to the facilities or the companies that produce products to be transparent and put use by dates on them. But in terms of laws, there's only one law that encompasses the regulation of use by dates, and that's specifically catered towards infant formula. Everything else is up to discretion.
Okay, so off the top, I was talking about best by dates, use by dates, sell by dates. What's the difference here? I kind of get like best by and sell by. Maybe that's the same thing. But is there a way to just kind of decode it all?
So Best Buy and Sell By, they are used all three of them actually are used interchangeably, used by, Sell By, and Best Buy. Sell By is usually used by the distributor, so your local grocery store, they use Sell By to make sure that they're keeping things on stock while it's at peak. So usually the people that are doing inventory and stock for the product on the shelf, once they see that sell by has passed, they're supposed to remove it off the shelf. Or sometimes they'll give you a discount because it's still technically safe to eat, but it's not at its peak. Sell by, I just went over sell by. Use by and Best Buy. Use by is usually the date that's most correlative with if it's best to eat or not. And again, going back to the infant formula, when it has use by, you should not use. Infant formula past its use by date because it's backed by law, but everything else is basically used to determine if it's at its best quality. So you could still buy the product and it may be safe, but the best bet that you can, the best rule that you can abide by is if it smells good, looks good, and tastes good. If something doesn't look right, I say discretion by not picking that item up.
Okay, all right. Yes, it's so confusing. I mean, just hearing your response, it's like, okay, I got to write it down exactly which one is which. What about canned goods? I know that sometimes canned goods, have that expiration date, but a lot of times canned goods look the same either before or after that expiration date. How should we decipher that?
Yes, senses are your best friend. Taste, smell, sight, appearance, and texture. So with canned goods, of course, it's in a can, so you can't really taste it before you take it off the shelf. But things to look for with canned goods are any damage to the casing, or if it looks like it's been expanded. If you see those things, I would caution to not pick it off the shelf. And with the dates that are on the can, it is again in relation to its best quality. So if it has a date on the can that's past due, usually canned goods are still safe months to years after the expiration date.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I guess what's the most important thing if you were to say, okay, this is the number one thing you need to know when it comes to expiration labels, just overreaching, regardless, no matter what we're talking about. You got to remember this one rule. What would you say it is?
Excuse me, we're having some technical difficulties. I cannot hear.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear now.
Okay, good. I was just saying, if there was a far-reaching overall rule, like the golden rule when it comes to expiration labels on food, is there one label or is there one rule that just trumps everything else?
So that one rule is the use by date. And again, that's only with infant formula. If the use by date on infant formula is passed, do not use it because babies are one of the immunocompromised of our population. And there's a list of people who qualify as immunocompromised or people that have impaired immune systems. When it comes to dates, they're not as reliable. The biggest thing that you can use are your senses. So your sight, your smell, your taste, and I believe there's one other sense that you can use. Yes, sight, smell, taste, or feel. So if you have the ability to use those senses to your advantage, use them because they usually never lead you astray.
Yeah, no question. One final thing, I've heard this before, just want to double check with you. If you have like over-the-counter medication like Tylenol, Advil, that sort of thing, if it's past expiration, that just means it's a lower strength and it's okay to have, right?
That is not my specialty, but I can agree with you that usually once it hits that date that you see on the case, then it is a lower strength than what it was before.
That's right. You're a dietitian. You're not, I got you. I got you. Out of the realm. Anything else? Final thoughts before we let you go, Quine?
Yes. So the FDA is one of the websites that provides a lot of information in regards to food safety. And one of the most confusing thing about these terms are that they can be used interchangeably and that there's no law to basically regulate how people talk about these topics. So when you're concerned about expiration dates, the term that's used is food product dating, and food labeling is actually used for nutrition facts labels. And they're very close because they're in the same realm, but it can get confusing really fast. So if you want to do further research, the FDA is a great resource, and specifically the USDA of the FDA, which is the U.S. Department of Agriculture, has information. And if you want to get even more specific, the Food Safety and Inspection Services, which is FSIS, that is the entity that handles all those topics.
She is clinical dietitian with Regional One Health, Quine Johnson, joining us on the digital desk once again. Quine, appreciate the info. Thank you so much for spelling it out for us and really just kind of letting us know how confusing it can be and where to go to get the right information. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. You all have a great day.
Okay, and welcome back to the Action News 5 digital desk. I'm Andrew Douglas. The use of illegal vapes is still very much a serious problem, especially when it comes to kids in high school. We're talking about teens, adolescents. They use these disposable e-cigs from China, and they have an extraordinary amount of concentrations of nicotine. They're highly addictive, and they're appealing to these kids and adolescents because of their appearance. They look like toys, they're school supplies, and they have all these different flavors. So how do we combat this? Because right now, according to a study since 2019, 60% of youth, high school kids, okay, reported using these disposable e-cigarettes. It's an awful situation. I know so many parents firsthand that have struggled to deal with this issue. Let's bring in someone to help us and discuss this in detail. I'm joined right now by Rich Marianos, a former ATF deputy director. He's joining us on the digital desk. Rich, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about this problem first off. Let's just kind of outline the problem, how pervasive it is, and how much of an epidemic it is. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. Let's just go with the statistics of what you said earlier. If 6 out of 10 kids are using it right now, it is a huge problem, especially right now with a new school year. We've seen in the last 5 years a 2,000% increase among young adults that are addicted to these vape products, and now they're going to be going into schools. Almost zombies is what I say. So addictive with products like Tyson's Heavyweight 1000 Puff Mango Cherry version, not manufactured by industry, manufactured by Chinese organized crime. But this addiction creates a disruption which affects our school system, our parental duties, school resource officers, our administrators. And if we don't grab a hold of Chinese organized crime that's involved in this, the problem will just become more and more severe every day going into this year.
How are these kids, because, you know, I mean, both my kids are in college and they were in high school, and they would tell me certain bathrooms in the high school where these kids would vape and you know, have these flavors, cotton candy, creme brulee, that sort of thing. How do these kids, first off, get these products? Are they being sold everywhere? And why isn't there a crackdown on this kind of thing?
Well, let's start first. How are they getting it? A lot of it is through the websites and social media, or illicit vape shops that are selling it directly to the kids that aren't paying attention to the laws. They're not paying attention to regulations, and they're actually putting out poison, unregulated Chinese poison, to our children. What we need to be cognizant of and understand that this is our #1 threat of national security. It's another vehicle for Chinese organized crime to come in, make more money on the backs of America, and go after our greatest resource, which is our children.
So bad, Rich. It just infuriates me as a parent and what my kids have told me about the epidemic and the problem that they see firsthand. So we've identified, you know, this problem and how large it is. So let's talk about solutions for all those parents, the grandparents, family members out there.
Well, you brought it up a little bit earlier, and we need better enforcement. We need the government to pay attention to what's going on. We need states to develop a registry to what is illegal in terms of also what is legal for tobacco harm reduction. When these products first came out, the good ones are designed to get people away from combustibles, but the bad ones are now addicting our children. We need enforcement. We need to be giving the laws the tools, directories for law enforcement to go and put these vape shops out of business, to disrupt the supply chain, and understand that organized crime hits everyone. It's time that we hit back, and as a community, as a society, hit back in taking these out of the marketplace and making it safer for our young adults.
You know, I couldn't agree more, Rich, especially when you talk about, you know, this poison, for lack of a better term. I mean, we have no idea what's in this stuff. And, you know, no matter where it's marketed, I mean, we have no idea what's in that, the long-lasting effects of some of that liquid, that vape liquid. Are there any places any states that, from your best vantage point, that do it right in terms of law enforcement, cracking down, anything like that? And if so, can we talk about them? Or if not, let's come up with some ideas and how we can push this to our state lawmakers.
The best strategy are those that have registries that are working in concert with their law enforcement partners and coming up with a solution, working with their schools, identifying the delivery system that these young adults are using to sneak it, and then going out there again to arrest and disrupt the marketplace. Enforcement works. It always has worked, but let's go after the bad guys in the marketplace. Let's understand what the problem is and understand that the ones that are FDA approved are good for those who want to curtail combustible smoking. Everything else, it's a crime to possess, sell, and we need to get it out of the hands of our kids and enforce the government, not just to use the FDA, but give local law enforcement their tools to enforce it. The FDA is trying, but sending letters and going out there without a structured strategic plan is not the solution. We need a real law enforcement agency and real police to get behind this, to go after, again, our largest national security threat, and that is Chinese organized crime.
I think a lot of parents and grandparents, Rich, are saying, hey, can you say it louder for the people in the back? You know, we have thousands of people watching us each and every morning here on the digital desk. If they want to do something and they agree 100% with what you're saying, what would you recommend they do?
First thing, let's go on our website, website put together with some partners, illegalvapes.com, that has all the information on good practices, even failed practices, good articles, bad articles, but it gives the picture of how to do this and how to do it right and create a holistic approach. We can't do this in a vacuum. Our politicians have to. They must work with the school system. They must work with the parents. They must get involved in the community and hear what the biggest problems are. You talked about the bathroom vape location. They need to understand that some of these schools have locations where these kids know to go that are unsupervised, and it's a problem, it's a threat. They need to work together in this, what I call the holistic approach, rather than make these decisions in the vacuum. And then further, if it's the FDA, ATF, if it's local police, whoever it may be, that they need to use resources to target this problem.
Totally agree there. Illegalvapes.com. Anything else you want to mention this morning, Rich, we haven't touched on you feels important? It's truly an epidemic that we need to crack down on and get under control.
Parents need to understand that this is a terrible issue. It is affecting the way our kids are developing, how their brains are developing by the use of these illegal vape products. And they also need to take a stronger approach. Some can't just brush it away that my kids aren't in gangs, my kids aren't using drugs. If vape is the only problem, it's okay, I'll live with it. That's the wrong response. It's the wrong attitude. And they need to take a more aggressive approach to jump in and realize that a product that's manufactured for kids by organized crime needs to be taken very, very seriously. And it's not only a threat to public safety, but it's a threat to public health.
Illegalvapes.com. Rich Marianos, former ATF Deputy Director. We really appreciate this discussion this morning on the Digital Desk. Thank you for letting us know about not only your website, but also best practices to crack down on this awful epidemic that's affecting so many teens and adolescents out there. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Okay, and that does it for us here in the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Have yourself a wonderful afternoon. We got Action News 5's Ariana Poindexter ready to begin Action News 5 midday at the top of the hour. She'll take you through the news headlines and your forecast. We got sunshine on the way. And then join us once again bright and early tomorrow morning for another edition of the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We start at 7.